out of apartment 5B.
You're now tuned into the Apartment 5B podcast, where we chop it up about hip-hop, R&B, sports, love and life. Hosted by Kill.
What's good? You are tuned to Apartment 5B podcast, hosted by your man Kill. I got my squad with me. First, Porsche, what's going on, miss?
Oh, not much, Kill. How are you?
L, out of Philadelphia. What's going on, good brother?
Everything good, man. Glad to be here.
No doubt. The Philadelphia legend, Trey Lee. What's going on, good brother? No doubt. Yo, and for the first time chopping it up on Apartment 5B, this is my homegirl. This is like a little sister. This goes back to 889 at Morgan State University. Nika, what's going on, miss?
Hey, what's up, everybody?
How you doing?
Yo, B, how did we even meet? Like, I've known you so long. Were you an intern at the station? I don't even remember how we met.
I was an intern at the station. That's originally how we met. I was interning up there because I wanted to be so close to strictly hip hop. Like, I was so obsessed with your wife, Tanya B. Like, it was cool that it was a female host. Like, that just blew my mind.
Right.
So I was obsessed with her, and I wanted to intern with her, and I got that opportunity. One of the best opportunities in my life.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope.
I mean,
so definitely.
I wonder if it's the same. Like, everybody came through. Like, everybody. Like, we were meeting all types of people, and it was just cool. Like, it was a great environment. We were meeting people we listened to since we was kids. So, like, who wouldn't love that? And in a cool, calm environment where they were excited to meet us, and we were excited to meet them. So.
Yeah. Veg was saying we gotta do an episode just on 889 because I talk about it all the time, and people don't understand. Like, our radio station at Morgan was like the Stretch and Bob Beto of the DMV. You know what I mean? Like, anybody who was anybody came through that station. Like, I always say it was some of the best 7-8 years of my life. Like, literally, being up there and what we did and meeting amazing people like yourself. So good looking with chopping it up with us tonight. Yo, y'all know me. We're gonna jump right into it. This week's show topic came from Amir. Me and Amir were talking the other day. And Amir, why don't you tell them what we chopping it up about tonight?
Well, we was talking about, so the conversation was coming, Kid was driving, FaceTime, and I said, look, he said, talk to me about what I think is a good topic. I said, yo, we should run about Porsche because she's gonna shut everything down. I said, no, but I said, we started talking.
Hold on.
Yeah. So now, I mean, we started talking about, like, a roll off of what was happening in hip hop, and this whole thing about what it truly means to be independent. What's the true definition of an independent artist, and what that term really means then and now. And like how the evolution of being independent has like really morphed into it wasn't cool at one point. Now it's like more acceptable to say you're independent as long as you're getting what you need to get out of it. You know what I'm saying? Which most people say the baseline is money or etc. But I guess we'll dive into what is independent and whatever else. I guess Kill said he want to spin off into, but just really what independency looks like then versus 2022.
Right, no doubt. So we're gonna be talking about, one of the dope things is we got Trey here, who was signed to a major, who's now doing it indie. He's going to talk about some of the pros and cons. You know, Amir is Pete Rock's first artist signed to his label. So we're going to talk about, you know, why Amir went that way versus doing a major. Nika right here is a PR extraordinaire. You know what I mean? So we're going to talk about, if you're doing indie work, the importance of having a dope team around you and what that looks like. And, you know, we just going to be chopping it up. And like Amir said, independent in 2020 is entirely different than being an independent artist back in 1994. Like, it's two totally different worlds. So we're going to be talking about, like, do we even need a new word? Because keep in mind, you got cats like, I mean, look at me and King James album, the first 48 of me in Vegas. That would be indie hip hop. But then you also got, you know, think about it like this. Most Raucus was an indie hip hop label, you know, but was Mos Def an indie artist? You know what I mean? So we're going to be talking about all that stuff. As always, ladies first, Porsche. So when you think of an independent label or independent artist, what comes to mind?
So I was thinking about this ever since you said it. I was like, damn, what the heck how would I define that? And to me, like, after I've thought about it for quite a while, many hours, I came up with, to me, an independent artist is somebody who's void of a 360 contract. So, and to me, that allows them to move about the way that they want. Like, they can make the calls for themselves. So that's how I define it for me. So somebody who's not bound by a contract that's held by somebody else. Does that make sense?
No, makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Makes perfect sense. And like I always say, for people watching, to me, there's never a right or wrong answer. It's just, again, if you follow me, you know me, I've been married 21 years, trust me. People have two different definitions for the same word. We may find out today there are eight different definitions for the same word. So, you know, we're just going to try and pull it together. And again, I want to say this too, for a lot of indie artists, this is going to be a dope time to really sit back and really take a look at if, you know, independence is what you want and a better way to do it. Because a lot of times people will get at me like, Kill, nobody's listening to my music, X, Y, and Z. Maybe because you don't have a PR person. Maybe because you're trying to do it all yourself and you can't do it all yourself. But we're going to get into all that. Nika, for you, you've been doing this work for years. What does an independent artist, how do you define an independent artist or independent label?
As far as artists, I would agree with Portia that if you're not signed to anyone, you're not bound to any contract, then you'd be considered independent. And as far as a label, that is hard because now that we're in the digital age, you can just easily upload your music anywhere. So like, do you get the same push that you would get back in the day or not get the push? Because like, remember back in the day was like record distribution. So
right,
distribution's not happening. So how do you define it? I'm still kind of confused on that because I feel like you can release a record, it goes viral on TikTok, that brings in money. Your independent record could now not be independent, perhaps. I don't know. Like, how do you define it?
It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
I know for me, you know me, I'm 47. Everything is simple. If you don't have major distribution, I feel like you're an independent artist. You know what I mean? And for somebody watching, major distribution is when you're partnering with a company that can get your music worldwide. You know what I mean? They can get your music. And it's funny because doing research for this show is like, this was like a rabbit hole show for me because I would click on something and that would take me somewhere and I click on that. And this just kept me going down this rabbit hole. And we'll talk more about that, you know, especially with labels. But, you know, and a great example just for right now would be Stone's Throw with Peanut Butter Wolf and where Madlib, you know, was for years. You know, a lot of people would say Stone's Throw was independent, but they were distributed by, hold on, I got it written down somewhere. They were, I don't know, I gotta find it, but they were distributed by somewhere, and now they're being distributed by this spot called The Orchard that does major distribution for a lot of indie artists. So that's just, you know, to give an example, you know, that of how people used to look at indie labels. I remember there was a time when people thought Bad Boy was independent because Puff was the president. And I'm like, well, they're a subsidiary of Arista. You know, me, myself, I never looked at Bad Boy as independent because you got major distribution from Arista. You know what I'm saying? And Arista was also doing major distribution for LaFace. And I don't think too many people look at LaFace as a independent. Usually when I hear independent, I think like you're a struggling record label You know, it's like the 8 of us. We're the label. Like it's 8 people running the label. Like this isn't Sony where you go into a building and you're going up to the 5th floor and the 2nd floor and the 8th floor, and you know. So that's what I think of when I think of indie. JR, how do you look at an independent artist or independent label?
This was a tough one, man, and that's why I was like, I'm a little confused because for me being an R&B head, I'm like the only label that I was thinking about was like Hot Wax, and that was with Holla Doja Holla when they left Motown, and they wasn't getting any distribution at all, so it was all them. So I'm like with you, if you're not getting anything from like the Columbias and all that kind of stuff, I feel like you're independent. Maybe I'm wrong, you know what I mean? That's why that's kind of my thing. I'm like, you're not bowed down to anybody. You can kind of do what you want. So that's what I think when you think of an independent label or independent artist.
All right, Rel, what about you?
Yeah, I was struggling with this topic too. I will say on the artist part, I think it's, you don't have a major machine behind you, and it's like more freedom adds more responsibility and legwork. So I think for independent artists, I think, in my opinion, that's how it works. But when you talk about labels is where I kind of get a little confused, only because you have, like, you mentioned Raucous, and then you have labels that are majors but behave like independents, like Loud. Loud gave their artists a lot of creative control, so they behaved like an independent, but are technically a major. So I
mean, they had distribution through RCA, so definitely,
right.
Loud was definitely,
right. So is it so my question, and I think Trey could probably answer this, is it just solely having a major distribution if you are given the creative control and I don't know, because I don't know the financials, like how Loud was doing, you know what I'm saying? They gave a lot of control to the artist, and I'm trying to figure out, how do you classify that? You know what I'm saying?
Trey?
Rel wants the accounting.
To me, it's simple. It's an artist or an entity that is not contractually bound by a major label or backing or any of its subsidiaries. You see what I'm saying? Like, to be a true independent, it really means to be independent. You're not getting distribution, even though you got the bread. You're not getting distribution from a major. You're not getting marketing dollars from a major. They're not paying anything for you. You know what I'm saying? That's what an independent to me is. Now, when you start, like your Loud example, Loud got plenty of money from their distribution arm. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
There were deals cut in the back rooms, and they got that bread, and they were able to go out and sign the Wu and Mobb Deep and all these other artists. You know what I'm saying? Because they were, the check was cut. There was an obligation that Loud had as a production company, right? Mm-hmm. So, label and production company is, hand in hand. Those terms can be mixed. You know what I'm saying? But the production company depends on how much money they have. That's what determines the freedom. You know what I'm saying? The freedom to create how you want. Because you're not getting money from a major. You're not getting money from them so that they can dictate what you do and how you do it and where they want to put certain things and all that kind of stuff. So to me, is when you're not contractually bound by a major label or getting backing, any kind of backing from a major label or a subsidiary. So you mentioned Orchard. Orchard is a subsidiary of Sony. Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying? And they usually deal with smaller companies or smaller, lower tier artists, if you will. You know what I'm saying? And really they do, at least now in the digital space, they do what you can do. You know what I mean? All they do is put it up on, Spotify or, you know what I'm saying? But because they are affiliated with Sony, they may get you better placement when it comes to, when you see that, when you pull up Spotify through the advertisement, they may be able to get you better placement with regards to visibility on these particular portals, but you know what I'm saying, they're still a arm of Sony. You know what I mean?
Right. Amir, it's your topic, good brother. You know, what does independent mean to you right now?
To spin off of what Trey said, because I think that was like verbally packaged like very well, bro. Like, only thing that I didn't hear was because I've been doing some like research on it, and it talks about how I know Porsche touched on freedom and agility, which is kind of one leg of it, right? The way you can move without an indie versus, let's say, a major. You know, an indie has a vibe of like it's without funding or distribution, as Trey said, or the subsidiaries, which kind of makes things a little bit more rigid when you want to make decisions, because it's just not your money involved in that choice. So now you have to, like in most major corporations, they follow KIs or data, right, which is key indicators and how these things are postured. And if you're not performing at a certain level, that's when they start to do, if they do know how to read data of any kind, right? Not just the BS or your sales, because sales is not necessarily speaking to that. I think what it morphed into now is you have people that are actually technically sound and they understand deep technology as opposed to sheet technology, right? And so when you have sheet technology, meaning that, oh, you sold this many or you have this many followers, that's like an overarching conversation and the ability to say, you know, someone is actually performing well. But that stuff is also aesthetic and it's cosmetic and it doesn't stand. I remember, for example, when I did a deal with Tommy Boy, I didn't know Tommy Boy was a subsidiary of Warner Brothers at the time. But when I signed there, I didn't know, right? So technically, was I on a major? Fake yes, fake no, right? So essentially, what I'm getting at, it was a group that had at the time, it was MySpace or some shit like that, right? And these guys had started to steroid their numbers, their plays on MySpace, and somebody gave these guys an extra 50 to 75 X amount of dollars, and they did a show at SOBs, and there was 20 plus people in the crowd. This is the this was the first coming of what is happening now, except the difference is indie has a niche and they have the agility to appeal and get in these smaller spots, and you actually make more money. So then you have the question of, you know, monetary gain and ownership, and to be honest, I really do feel like there's a civil war. So like you said, indie sells you, I mean, majors sell you the big thing of bright lights, more distribution, I have access and reach, but you have 3,200 artists on this roster that you haven't given that same access and reach. But if you choose to sign, you kind of go with the mindset of, I'm going to get more up front, or I may get more on the back end, but you won't have ownership when it's all said and done. So when you talk about the Louds and the other companies that have actually bartered with their artists just so they can have a piece of their catalog, it actually goes to show you how valuable that part of, I would say, not the mechanical side of hip hop, right? When you start dealing with royalties and publishing and etc., even the things money can't buy, like relationships, like it's Nika, right? I'm sorry, right?
Yeah, Nika.
Like something that she does, right? You can't necessarily put a price tag on those relationships after they've been forged for this many years, because now you're dealing within a certain ecosystem. So I think, and I'm not going to drag it out, I think startups have more. I mean, indies now, to me, if I put this in tech terms, represent startup companies. And what's more popping now? Most people have a startup mentality, as opposed to me giving you my money. I'm going to make all of this shit. I'm going to build this program. I'm going to build this app, and I'm going to take it over here to a company that already has billions of dollars, when I could be the next Facebook myself if I just take the time to forge out and, you know, etc. So I think
that's a dope way to put it too.
Yeah, I think major labels, you call them big co, right? In tech, we call them big co, big companies. Like, big companies are losing their grasp and their reach. That's why, just like record labels, they have this hiring initiative, but instead of calling it a hiring initiative, what do? We 360 you, right? We'll do X, Y, and Z. We'll make it more appealing. Why are you trying to sell me something that's supposed to already not? You understand what I'm saying? Right. So I'm not going to drag it, but I think ultimately what's happening here is you're seeing the old business model being replaced by a new business model of how everything is done. Marketing, PR, music distribution, how artists are even handling their day-to-day business because it's more access and visibility. But what it does, it makes the processes a tad bit more convoluted. But if you're able to put together a system and a team, the reward is greater if you figure out that particular code of how you should operate your business. And me being, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. I was going to say I like that part right there, putting together a team. And that's what I want to talk about later, because I think a lot of artists don't put together a team. They're trying to do it themselves. And it's like you can't do everything yourself. Some people can, but some people don't have everything that it takes. But we're going to get to that.
Kill, I have a question. I have a question.
Hold on for 1 second, Portia. Let me get Eddie in here. Eddie, what's going on, bro?
What's good, fam?
What's going on? What's going on?
Hey, what's up?
So
good to see you all.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Nah, you got it, no, Portia, I'm sorry, you had a question.
Amir can finish his thought, and then I'll ask the question, because it doesn't have anything to do with this particular thing.
All right.
Yeah. So I think essentially what's happening, man, if you look at the trend on, like, not just social media, but half of the technology that we use, because this is huge fusion. It's just about Amir's concept, and somebody records this for years later, that's cool. There is a huge smashing of art and technology, bro. And I think a lot of the companies are actually half a decade behind. Labels are technically half a decade plus behind how things are moving. As far as media itself, they can kind of keep abreast, but you even look at publications, they print once a quarter now. They're not, the news is traveling faster via technology platforms, so they can't keep up. And like I said, they're losing profit. So if they don't, they would rather, they would probably rather get a piece of what you got going on as opposed to getting nothing. So to me, labels will soon become marketing houses. They can't be anything, because you don't need them to go get distribution. You could put it out yourself in X, Y, and Z. So with so much access and visibility, yeah, you do have the potential, but then you're going to have to hire Anika. You're going to have to hire somebody to actually, if you wrote a book, you can't put it in Barnes and Nobles and hope they read it. You have to let people know that book is on the shelf. And I think that's kind of where we at right now, as far as like indie versus major, and a lot of the other little nuances that come with signing to one versus the other in your personal situation.
Right, no doubt. We definitely gonna get to that. Porsche, what was your question?
My question was, like, I know we talk about parent companies and subsidiaries and all that kind of stuff, but my question is, labels started off as independent by definition, right? And then these bigger companies, big co's, they went and acquired these little ones and became, like, they bought them out pretty much, and everything that it sort of entailed. So is that, am I wrong in assuming that? Because that kind of, I don't know that changes anything, but it definitely puts like a target on what we know of independent labels now that are fully independent, like Left Entertainment or educated ignorant management, or whatever the RJ's label is. Like those labels now don't they become targets because a bigger company is going to come acquire them? Is that how it works? Trey?
Not necessarily. I mean, because it's still, the decision is still upon that independent to, sign a deal.
Right.
To decide to get in bed with them. It depends on the success of that said label or said artist. The more buzz you can generate, then of course, like Amir alluded to, and I think Kill alluded to, if big companies see an opportunity to make some bread, best believe they're gonna come in and try to, negotiate a situation where they can get a piece of the pie. You know what I mean? So, but what it does is, especially now, you actually have more leverage. You know what I'm saying? As an independent, because of what Mir said as well. You make more money being independent. The minute you decide to get in bed with a major, they come in to get the lion's share. But if you're in a situation where you can leverage that into you actually making more money, them just getting a slither, not signing away all of your rights, you know what I'm saying? Then it becomes lucrative for you as the independent. But the whole idea now is that you can create more leverage for yourself if you want to go get that, that longer reach or that bigger bank. Then you can create more leverage for yourself now more than ever.
But see, Porsche, I think too, is that you have to realize is that, again, and this is probably the next question of us trying to figure out, do we have to come up with another name? Because for instance, RJ Payne is technically independent, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So is King James, right?
Yeah.
King James and RJ Payne on the same, they're not on the same tier. You know what I mean? So, like, it is Trey?
Who's King James?
Oh, King James is my man, who me and him did the project, the first 48
so
this year.
everybody's independent. Okay, cool.
Right. So I'm just trying to give an example of how like RJ Payne is almost I don't want to say a household name, but I feel like if you're like a boom bap hip hop connoisseur, you know who RJ Payne is. You know, somebody may not know who I Am God is yet. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Trey.
But okay, so it's levels, right? Depending on the relationship, right? RJ still is independent because there's plenty of people that I mention RJ to, and they be like, "Who is that?" You see what I'm saying? And these are people that I'm like, you know, I thought they were in the same realm that I'm in. You know what I'm saying? But they still don't know who he is. But because of the relationships that RJ has been able to garner, you know what I'm saying, hooking up with the Ice-T's of the world and the, you know what I mean, the world and the, you know what I'm saying? And
you know what, Trey? I'm glad you brought that up because the relationship is a key part. I didn't know RJ Payne as Rain Man, the battle.
He was Rain Man, yeah.
I knew of RJ Payne's name when he signed to Benny's label, BSF, and he was on the Plugs I Met. That's the first time I heard RJ Payne. So that right there is the introduction. It's almost like, you know, if you would watch, I know, Porsche, you love The Godfather. It's like a made man. Like you know, he was introduced. You know what I mean?
He never even signed the Benny.
Oh,
because I was in the
I forgot you was doing it. You was doing the deal, right? Well, it looked like he was signing the Benny. It looked like he was about to because I remember he was shouting out BSF and Plugs I Met and all of that stuff. So I think I thought he was signed to Benny when Benny was here in DC. That's when I met RJ Payne. Was because he was touring with Benny. You know what I mean? So that's how a lot of people got to know him. So that co-sign meant a lot, and that kind of pushed him to the next tier. You know, to be like for him. What's going on there?
Oh, I wanted to bounce off like this topic and something Trey said, right? So talking about independent labels and the leverage that they have. So let's say being an artist, let's say like an example for Amir, and I know Amir's situation is different, but just to use it for an example, right? Amir's on an independent. That independent label makes a deal with a major. Now the artist decided to be on an independent label for his own reasons. You know what I mean? Like for you know everything we're talking about, right? All the positives of being on an independent versus a major. Now the major's involved, and now they come in, and you know the artist, like what leverage does the artist have at that point? You know what I mean?
You said you're signed to a major and he dipped out. Way to go, Eddie.
I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like your leverage comes down to what you have. So like Trey said, for instance, Benny just signed to Def Jam. Now, people are probably wondering, he put this on IG, people probably wondering, why would you sign to Def Jam if you've been so successful on an indie? But the deal he got with Def Jam, after all of the work that he's done, is going to look entirely different than if this is just Benny the Butcher from Buffalo, who nobody's ever heard of. His deal is going to, like Trey said, it's going to be that the record label, the major's getting a slither, but it's not getting the bulk. Why? Because Benny has already proven, I really don't need y'all. It's the same thing with Cash Money. You know, it was all those things. So the deal looks different once you proved yourself. I mean, you figure he's already done an album with Hit Boy. You know what I mean? Who's doing Nas and stuff. So you've done an album. So at this point, I'm sure he was able to go in Def Jam. I'm sure Def Jam wanted to meet it with him versus it being the flip of me trying to get a meeting with Def Jam. You know, so when they start coming to you, now you have the leverage to be able to say, nah, I don't need to sign that deal, because it's like when you already have, it's different when you looking for a job and you ain't working versus when you have a job and you're already working and you're able to say, nope, that ain't enough. Yep, that's enough. Nope, I want more. When you're not working, you just take whatever job you can get. So that's the equivalent of being an independent artist that nobody knows. You just, hey, I'm just happy to be here in the building. When I got laid off 10 years ago, the first job I took, they were like, yo, you sure you want this job? Like, you're overqualified. I'm like, bro, my unemployment ran out. I got a wife and daughter. I need to work. Let's go. You know what I mean? So, hell yeah, I had more. My supervisor literally told me, you can do more than I do. You know what I mean? Like, but it was, my back was against the wall and I needed a job. Versus now that I'm working, making good money, now I'm able to say, nah, I want, or you can make demands. You can be like, you want me? Okay, bet. I want this amount. I want 20 more vacation days too, and I want stock options. You can't be unemployed talking about you want stock options. You gotta just be happy you in the building and you got the interview. You know what I mean? So, so I guess this leads to my next question. Do we need to come up with, or is it just like you said, Trey, like just different tiers of independent artists? You know, kind of like if you watch college ball, you know, you have the mid-majors, you know, which is, you know, that means you're not coming from one of them Power 5 conference. You're not in the ACC, Pac-10, SEC, you know, Big Ten. You're not in those. So that you're a mid-major team. And people feel disrespected by that. But because again, like there's a difference between what like an independent artist like a RJ Payne where he is, and then say like somebody who's like I Am God who has incredible music, but again is truly an independent. So Trey, do you think we need new names for this, or is it just as simple as you said, different tiers? Would you say, man?
I may have one for it.
Okay.
If you do it like this, Trey he might agree. So if you break it up like you break up anything else, like college sports, right? You have Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, right? You can have Indy 1, I2, I1, and I3, like 3 divisions of independent label, like the hierarchy of what indie labels look like. We can call it I1 instead of D1. You call it I1, independent label. You know, this is the level that, you know, everybody want to go to Duke, but if you get a scholarship to go to community college, play ball or whatever, and you really you love the sport, you're gonna take what's what you offer, right? Yeah, and then you may try to work your way back to Duke, get your grades up, and then transfer to Duke, right? Yeah, so no doubt. I do believe, Trey, you agree or disagree? Maybe.
No, I think I agree, but I also would like to see, you know, people show some integrity when they say that they're independent and they're really not. Because I think it's a flex.
Now, what do you mean? What do you mean? When
you're saying you're independent, but you're not really independent. So you're trying to make the perception or make it seem like you're doing all of this off of the muscle.
Tracy Lee needs to spill the tea. Who is independent? Who's secretly not independent?
There's a bunch of people that did. They got major distribution.
Yeah, that's a fact. I mean, for instance, if you look at Chance the Rapper,
I was just about to say him.
Trey, hold on for a chance, man. We got a whole segment for Chance, so hold that thought. Okay. Because when as soon as I got a phone with you, I called Trey, and Trey was like, "We gotta talk about Chance the Rapper, and we gotta talk about Tech Nine." So we gonna get into that. We gonna definitely get into that.
But that's my spiel. So I agree with you, man. But like I said, we need to have some integrity. You know, when you call yourself an independent and you're really not. You know what I'm saying?
And Trey, even the pick and roll off of that. If I'm gonna be super philosophical here for 1 second. No artist or no label is technically ever independent, because you can't, if not unless they got their own. If you printing your records, you got your own online distribution. You printing your own merch. You got your own PR. Everybody's dependent on somebody else.
If you contracted the services, then you're independent. Yeah. If you have not contracted the services and you signed a negotiation and you're getting that money up front that is recoupable, then you're not independent.
Yeah, right.
So even when you just start in a label, then you're not independent at all. You're not independent. If you just start up a label, you're not independent.
To me, if you contracted those services out, like if you pay people out of your pocket, that the money that is being circulated is not recouped, then to me that means you're fully independent. You have funded your project.
Right.
Anything other than that, to me, when you're getting front money, front distribution, channels,
Okay.
Then to me, that's not
fact.
independent.
That's a fact. Everybody that have that
the-
Rockefeller startup money. If you ain't get that Rockefeller startup out the trunk, allegedly, Master P out the trunk, allegedly.
And we gonna talk about that too. We got so much to go. Nika, you was about to say something?
I'm just laughing.
and the reason why I say that, JR, is because here's the thing, and I always tell people when dealing with independence, I saw a West Side Gun interview once, and it really opened my eyes up to everything. And he was talking about how he was out doing what he had to do, and Benny and Conway was the rappers. Conway got shot, Benny got locked up, his money was into this Griselda, so then that's how he started rapping. But the key thing of what I heard in that interview was he was doing what he had to do to get the money. You see what I'm saying? So he paid for it out of pocket, but he had to do what he had to do to get the money, if you understand what I'm saying. I tell people all the time, Sean Carter could have been an amazing MC, had all the talent that he has, but if he worked at UPS, that nigga can't make Reasonable Doubt. He doesn't have the money to pay Premier. He doesn't have the money to pay Ski. Steve Beats said, yo, Jay was paying us in shoebox money. Jay was coming in with like shoeboxes like, yo, here's the money for these beats. So you could be just as talented as Jay-Z was, but you don't have the money to make Reasonable Doubt. You see what I'm saying? Because being a UPS man, you got to pay bills. You don't have that. So it's where I'm always careful with my kids, because my people will come in and they'll say, yo, you could be the next Nipsey Hussle to my teens. And I'm like, we do know Nipsey Hussle was a drug dealer and a gangbanger. No disrespect, but it's just what he did. You know what I mean? Jay-Z was a drug dealer. That nigga said he sent National Guards to go get him. So when you tell my teens you could be the next Jay-Z, I'm like, be careful what you're saying, because this ain't main source watch Roger do his thing, where it's like Roger was working at the after school spot and working at the quick. He wasn't doing that. So you gotta understand, here's the thing, if we keeping it a buck, half of all the corporations in this world that white folk did was built off of blood money. You know what I mean? Whether it was bootlegging money, whether it was slavery money, whether whatever it was.
I'm gonna support that statement.
Right, you know what I mean?
But I'm gonna give you a fun stat too, and I challenge people to Google it. Right? I encourage people to Google it. They said 60% of the money in our economy. That's what's Nika laughing. 60% of the money in our economy is allegedly, what they call dark money or illegal trade money. So if 60% of the money in our economy is coming from X, Y, and Z, that's what they're counting. But can you imagine how much money is being rinsed through music and etc.? And there's no accountability in this, bro. It's like, it's, what I'm saying? So this is like, how many times do you see the streets clash with dudes in the office that, they pressing them for X, Y, and Z? I mean, I had a dude hit me today talking crazy, but I mean, it's just, I agree. And this is just to support your statement even more. I'm just saying it's bugged out to me to see that there's a lot of pros and cons on each side. I think, but I will say with an indie, the pros will be is more intimate, because I could call up Kill, I could call up Trey, I could call up Porsche. If everybody in him is a part of the label, there's a functioning relationship. People have relationships with each other to make sure certain things, the machine is working. When you in an assembly line, like a lot of people work at majors, but do they still love music when they work there?
Right. And I mean, it's the same thing with working at a for-profit or non-profit. I know people who work for for-profits who don't know half the people who work in their building. They just know people who work on their little team. They have no idea who works on the 8th floor. Whereas if you're at a non-profit, you know everybody. And we're gonna talk about the pros and cons.
That's funny.
Nika, I want to get with you because you do PR, and you hear that word a lot. But most folk don't know what public relations really is. One, can you just tell us what is PR and like what's a day in your life? Because I see you on the gram, you're everywhere. Number one, let me just say this. Nika is a cancer survivor. So number one, I just want to salute you for beating that disease. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Again, just watching the story through IG will have me tearing up here, and we're not going to do that. So I just want to salute you for that. And we're going to have you back to talk about that whole journey, because I'm big on the health tip around here. So salute for that. But can you talk a little bit about what is PR? What is PR? What is it?
So PR is just a method to get your product, service, message, image, what have you, to the mass media. Like, when I get started with a client, my thing is to ask, like, what is your goal? What would you like to accomplish? Because there are some people that may want to be, you know, the next Jay-Z or Beyonce. And then there are some people who don't, you know, like they're cool with just being known locally or maybe even regionally. You don't know. So that's the first thing. And then how could I put this in layman's terms? It's because it sounds difficult, but it's not. Like with PR, it's like we create a narrative for whomever or whatever, and sometimes that it comes before, sometimes it comes after, and the after part could be crisis management. Now that we're in the digital age, PR has done a big pivot since the pandemic, because like there's event PR, there wasn't any events happening, so there wasn't any, you know, face-to-face interviews happening. So with the pivot, I know it has been challenging for a few, but a lot of us have been able to bounce and, you know, hop on the digital train. The publicists who weren't doing a lot of digital stuff are definitely doing it now.
Okay.
Yeah, just to think about it, like when the pandemic came, everyone had access to creating their own podcast. They were doing live talk shows on Instagram. Like that wasn't happening, you know, before. So it was like media lists were changing. People were getting, you know, laid off or terminated. Whole media, you know, conglomerates were folding. So it is different. But I feel for someone who's up and coming, trying to get, you know, your music out or what have you, the world is your oyster, literally, because everything is like on your phone. Like you can do everything from your phone. So if you're smart enough to read, get the knowledge, like you can get it done. Like you can be your own publisher in the beginning. And I don't have problem, you know, sharing those tips. Like I have to let me tell you how to your business. So let me tell you part though from anyone else. So back the higher.
All right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And Trey, one of the things I want to get into is the pros and cons of indie and major. Amir, you said you were about to sign the Tommy Boy, now you're signing the P.
No. I signed the Tommy Boy years ago.
Oh, you did? Okay, you did sign the Tommy Boy. Kind of look about that, because like, you know, Porsche, you and I, we always talk about, like, I always compare being on a major to living at home with your parents. You know what I mean? There are rules you gotta follow. You gotta, you know, you could be 47, you could be my age, and I'm
analogy ever.
Yeah, and I could move back home with my mom, and my mom could be like, yo, you can't have no chick spending the night, and you can't be doing this, and even though I'm 47, that's mom's house, and I gotta do what mom says. I gotta ask mom, can somebody come over? You gotta ask for permission, versus you having your own apartment, but now you gotta pay all the bills. You gotta do all of that stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, you know how it was when you go to college and then you move out your mom's house, but then you want to come home on the weekends to wash clothes and eat. You know what I mean? Because you won't got no food in your refrigerator. Like, you can't do that with the majors. Like, if you want to be indie, you got to do everything yourself, or the same thing. Some people are entrepreneurs, you know, and one of my best friends, Nate's godfather, is an entrepreneur. He's had businesses ever since I've known him for the past 20 some odd years. And he's like, I'm not working for nobody. It's a whole nother struggle to keep my own business going, but I'd rather do that than have to listen to somebody else and report to them on their times and everything like that. So kind of like the same with a major. Trey, you had the major deal, you're now indie. What would you say are some of the pros and cons of both?
Pros for the major is definitely the global reach. It's definitely the marketing, the dollars that are being put behind it. And this is just my personal experience, because I didn't have a bag like that, like personally. So I wasn't able to afford the reach or the dollars that they put behind the projects, and the access to be able to forge relationships with certain people that you may not have had at that particular time, or would have took a longer time to forge those relationships or get your music into certain spaces, sync situations with television shows and radio shows, which speaks to, the whole reach aspect.
Now, Trey, I was going to ask, with like you were on Arsenio, is that through the label?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Because no independent artists back in those days were getting on Arsenio Hall, right?
No. It wasn't Arsenio. It was the Keenan Ivory Wayne show.
Oh, I'm sorry, Keenan Ivory. Okay, right.
But
Keenan
same vein.
Right.
You
Same system. Okay. So
Yeah,
so a label is going to help you get that reach to be able to get on late night shows and get on Jimmy Fallon with the Roots and all of that stuff. Okay.
Because they got the bag. It goes back to the bag. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
It goes back to the bag.
Yeah. So
everybody wants to be on trend now. So, like, you have a radio now.
Nika, you breaking up a little. Is she cracking up to everybody?
Yeah.
You're cracking up a little bit.
Hey, you hear me?
You're still cracking up a little bit. How about try to log out and then log back in?
Or she got her headphones in.
Oh, maybe take the headphones out? Maybe that's what it is?
Or it's a short in the wire. Say something?
No. You hear me now?
We hear you, but
it's still cracking up. Nah, she got, I think, AirPods, so it's not even no wire to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's gonna have to log off.
Yeah, it's still breaking up. Maybe try to log off and then just log back in. All right.
Yeah.
What were you saying? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was saying, so those are the pros and the cons. Of course, ownership. Most times when you're getting the bag from the label, that means they owning everything that they put their bag behind. You know what I'm saying? Which is the masters, which is, publishing, which is, you know what I mean? Like, so everything is fully recoupable. They have to get their money back. You know what I'm saying? And that includes the plane tickets. That includes the meals that the studio time, the meals that you get while you're in the studio. You know what I'm saying? The housing, you know what I mean? That they put you up in to come and record the record. You know what I'm saying? But this is the old school model. Like, you do it from home now. But anything that they put their money up under, they got to get that money back before you see a dime. You know what I'm saying?
So the more like people would say is that a record label is nothing but a loan. They're basically just lending you the money.
A little bit more than that. I would give it more than that though.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even call it a loan. I wouldn't even call it a loan because you're not paying them back with your money necessarily. You're paying them back off of record sales that was never in your pocket in the first place. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't necessarily call it a loan. You know what I mean? And not to mention is zero interest.
Right. But I guess I was looking at it from the standpoint of it being like, okay, Sony has given me $500,000 to make this album, and until they get their $500,000 back, I don't get any money. Right. So, like you said,
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. So I guess for me, I just always looked at that because I forgot who said it, but somebody was like, if you could get a loan from the bank for the same as your advance, you could do that yourself because I got to pay the bank back.
But the difference is it goes against your credit report if you don't, right? So if you don't pay the label back, they just drop it, and that's it. You've given them intellectual property, but there's no penalty for regard to
okay. See, I always thought it would be like, say, if you didn't recoup off your first album and you still owed them $250, when it's time to get your advance for the next album, it's gonna be $250 short, based off of.
Yeah, that's about right, but it's not gonna mess up your Equifax score.
No,
I mean, it won't mess up your credit score, but now you got to make a whole new album with half of the budget.
But it was never your money in the first place. Is what I'm saying. You didn't put anything on the line other than your intellectual property, meaning the songs that you wrote.
But if you get a loan, it's not your money either, right? Because the bank is giving you the money.
But you have to have some type of you have to put something up in order to get that loan.
Okay,
you have to give them a collateral, like a collateral.
Right. Yeah, you have to have collateral.
Okay.
There's no collateral with getting funding from a record company other than the songs that you're writing.
Would your music? Would your some people? I was just gonna say, like, your hard work, your music, this baby that you just gave them, is that the collateral then?
In a sense, yes.
Okay.
But it wasn't making any money.
No money anyway. Right. I see what you're saying. That makes perfect sense.
So it depends on how you look at it. That's how I've always looked at it. I walked away from my deal not owing anybody nothing.
Now, is that because you got dropped, or because you if somebody said, I want to get out of this deal, is this like, and again, this may be a horrible analogy or maybe good, in Mo Better Blues, when Bleak was trying to get a new deal at the Jazz Club, and Giant, Spike Lee, and the white guy was like, hey, this is the deal you signed. Like, we're not renegotiating this deal. Like, you signed this 3-label deal. Yeah, you want to leave. We're not letting you leave. You know, and if you want to leave, then you got to pay us back X amount of dollars that you owe us. Is that how it would work?
It could.
Okay.
But then you can also, you know, kind of play it on some. You can kind of play it on some. You know, I'll just ride the contract out, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I'll ride the contract out and do like some stall type tactic where they may forget about it. In other words, they're not coming to get your house. You know what I'm saying? So it just depends on what type of game you trying to play.
Like kind of when the Locks was trying to get out of Bad Boy.
Exactly.
And they literally had to go, they on Hot 97, beefing with Puff, free the Locks, let me out my deal, whatever. Exactly. You know what I mean? Exactly. Like, okay, Nika, you're back now. What were you gonna say? Let's see if it's good now.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, but you good now. You sound good. You're back. You back. Eddie, you was about to say something?
Oh man, I was gonna say, like, that whole scenario that Trey was describing, it reminds me of Shark Tank. I don't know if anyone watched Shark Tank, but you know, like when they're offering these deals, like a lot of times, you know, a lot of these people who have these business ideas, they don't fully understand, right? Like, a deal may sound good, but these are businessmen and women, and they know, like, okay, maybe it's not as much up front or not, right? Or not, you know, either asking a certain percentage of their company or asking for like certain royalties or whatnot, right? But each deal is different. But you could kind of tell that the Sharks, they're looking at it from a completely different angle than the people trying to get the money. And so like they always kind of have the advantage in that deal.
I mean, the hard part is like whenever you have money, you have the advantage. You know what I mean? Right. And that's the sad part of life. If you have the money, JR can come to me and say, Kill, I need to hold $100K. Okay, well, I'm going to charge you this much interest and I want this. You know what I mean?
You're able to have money and people need that money. That's
right. Yeah. When you have money and people need money, you're able to create whatever terms you want. So maybe on a deal, like you said, man, you know, you'll own 60% of your company, but I own 40%. You know, you may not, that may sound good because you want the money, but it's like, damn, you damn near own half my company and all you did was give me money. Like, I'm the one doing all this work. You know what I mean? Right. But and then that's how they start tricking stuff, and then they do something this, and next thing you know, they the board chair, and you don't even have a company no more. You know what I mean? So that's, you know, and it goes back to, you know, like you were saying, y'all, like when you're indie, it's kind of like you have to come out of pocket with everything. And are you ready to come out of pocket with everything? Like, I didn't know that Meg Thee Stallion's person who, like, I guess signed her or whatever, was a Major League Baseball player or was a former Major League Baseball player. So he has money. You know what I mean? Like, he has the money. If you give me $1 million, I can make anybody a star, in my opinion. I truly believe in my heart of hearts. You give me $1 million, I can make you a star because I got enough money to pad the radio, to pad the video shows, to pad the blogs, to pad everybody's pocket, to pad the tours. You know, I think even Nicki Minaj said she had to pay to get on Coachella, but she was like, it was a good investment because I'm in front of 100,000 people. You know what I mean? But again, how are me and King James gonna get on Coachella if they asking for $100K? Well, guess we can't do it. You know what I mean? So you don't have that reach without that money. And a lot of times if you don't have some rich friend, you know, or you're not out here in these streets for the most part, who has $100K that they can just let go? Because that's really what you're doing. This money may not come back to you. The average person can't do that. The average person doesn't have $100K in their bank account. And if they do, it's going to some college fund or retirement or your 401K. And are you willing to risk that on this? Whereas an NBA player, they may spend $100K in a strip club in a weekend. So I'm shocked every basketball player don't have a record label, to be honest with you. Because they got the money to lose because they blow it every other weekend. You know what I mean? So that's the thing, like if you have the money. Now, Trey, what made you decide this time? And you've been independent ever since, you left. What were you on? You were on Boston. What was the Universal?
It was Boston Universal.
Right. So what made you decide to not go back that route?
Hold on. Just from, my experience, because when I got signed, I knew nothing about the business. So everything from my lens was, and everything in my generation's lens was, get signed. That was it. Only the down south and the West Coast cats knew about the independent game. Cats on the East Coast didn't know nothing about independent. They wanted to be signed to somebody. So that's when you thought you made it. Like once you get signed, that was it. You know what I'm saying?
Pull up.
You know what I mean? But then once you get in and you see, at least from my perspective, because and especially back and even before me, there were, and I really kind of sympathize with the older cats, like the cats that got signed to Sugar Hill, the cats that got signed, the old deals, and you know what I'm saying, and because they knew nothing about the game, you know what I'm saying, and they were like still to this day are being raped. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
Yeah,
they got the dirty red from 5 Heartbeats still.
Oh my God, it's horrible. So once you get in and you start to see the cash flow, how the money flows, and who gets what, and how it moves, and who's in power, and things like that. It's like after that, man, and then you understand the nature of the culture of being on a label and the people that you interact with. That's when I discovered this is not my culture. Like this is not what I signed up for. This is not who I subscribe to. This is not the relationship that I want to forge. This is just me personally. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even want to be a part of that, because then you start to associate me with that. You know what I'm saying? If you don't know any better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I never wanted to be perceived in that nature. So that's when I made the conscious decision to I'm good. It would have to be just like from a business perspective, it would have to be a situation that, I'm able to negotiate and like just totally and feel comfortable about negotiating in my favor. You know what I'm saying? That I would sign another deal to a major label, and it'll have to be with who I have built a relationship with personally. You see what I'm saying? Like all of that, there's a lot that goes into that. But that's when I decided, man, I don't want to be a part of that culture. I don't want to be, I want to have ownership in the things that I create from an intellectual property perspective. And there is no budging unless you really want to sit down and negotiate a fair deal. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And that
really, I'm gonna get to you in 1 sec, Rel. Just hold that for 2 seconds. Trey, I think the great part about that you say is it goes back to where you are now. You don't need them per se. You know what I mean? Because you're a lawyer. You have your 9 to 5. You're doing your indie thing, so you're able. Again, this is a situation where I have a job, and people are coming to me. Or even if you have a job and I am looking around, I'm able to look for exactly what I want in return. Rel, what were you gonna say?
I had a question for Trey. Like, creatively, was there pushback when making Many Faces because of how different and creative that album is? Sometimes a label wants you to make certain stuff. My question is, how did you get around that, or did you have any pushback when making that album on a major label?
Nah, shout out to Mark Pitts, man, because he gave me complete creative control. And that's because of the nature of the relationship that we had, and because Universal was relatively new when it came to hip hop. At that particular time, we were the first ones in the door. So their whole thing was, okay, how do we get our money back? We're just gonna throw everything against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, okay.
Which was a perfect situation for me. But then once they, saw certain things come about and they started to discover the market, if you will, that's when they started, digging for these regional cats that have certain buzzers in their particular region, like your Nellies and your Cash Moneys and all that, and getting more of a return on the investment. And then the other thing is, even though they allowed me the creative space to make the album, there was still pushback on the singles. You know, we didn't get to put out a single that I thought should have been the perfect follow-up to the theme. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, but again, being able to come in there creatively to make the album that I wanted was a blessing. You know what I mean? But then after that, that's where, you know, you started to get pushback, you know, based on the money and where they're putting their money, marketing wise and promotion wise and all the other stuff. You know what I mean?
And it goes back to that point, like the indie, you have more intimate, close relationships. It's not just business, it's still business driven. But if you know the artist personally and what they into, and like you kind of have, it's like more of a crew feel, not like we just a corporation. So
right. And I think, like Trey, you said the relationships, because I want to talk to Nika about relationships, because PR, the bulk of that is the relationships that you have with people. By Trey knowing Mark, and like you said, the relationship that they had, it would have been totally different if, you know, Mark signs me and Eddie, because me and Eddie don't know Mark. You know what I mean? So there is no relationship there. Yeah, you know what I mean? Him and Mark went to Howard together. They had the relationship, and it's like, it may be like, yo, I can't jerk my brother. Not saying Mark is jerking anybody, but, you know, I don't know killing Eddie. You know what I mean? We could jerk them like they don't, you know, like it's no relationship there. And I think that that's the piece that so many indie artists miss nowadays, because here's the great part. Like Nika was saying, with technology now, you make a song in your bedroom, you upload it to SoundCloud, and now I guess you're technically an independent artist. You know what I mean? You record an album in your bedroom, you upload it to DistroKid, it's on Tidal, it's on Apple Music, it's on Spotify, you know, it's on Bandcamp. You're technically an independent artist. Trey, you know, Amir, you know, back in the day in the 90s, if you don't have something on vinyl, you basically just a rapper trying to get a deal. Like Trey said, like you're just trying to get a deal. You know what I mean? Whereas now you're an independent artist. Why? Because people can go and purchase your music from Apple, Tidal, wherever. You know, whereas before the whole point was you're not really an artist until you could go in a record store and somebody could pick up your CD. You know what I mean? Like that was like when I made it. Were you saying, Amir?
I think I started to do music at the MySpace era.
Okay, and
but I knew that you, and even during the transition into it, my first tape was around then. We went and bought, me and my man, we went to Harlem, and I forgot that lady's name, the Asian lady, like she had to buy the store called like on 135th. But she would print. If you didn't have CDs out there, like your mixtape on a CD, like by the hundreds or thousands, you wasn't really out here like that. And I remember going to parties. I remember, you know, as a kid going down to album release parties because I had a plug inside the machine. And I knew somebody in almost every building, so they would be like, Amir, if you want to pull up tonight, I'll put you on the list. My man couldn't get in because he didn't have some clothes. We was outside screaming the funniest shit in the world, and Ebro was out there that night. We was screaming, yo, we independent. And we was giving everybody CDs. So every time you see me, people like, this nigga was outside the club screaming, we independent. And I was giving everybody a fly. I stuck flyers. I was throwing flyers on the ground covers because you start bugging out. We was independent at the streets. If you wasn't moving like that, you wasn't independent, man.
Nah. And that's real. Oh, what's up, bro?
And the crazy thing about now, and you work with Teens Kill, you know, I was, you know, I'm from Philly, but I live in Maryland now, and I was a teacher in a high school for a while. I had two students that I can remember that rapped, right? And they were doing their own stuff, and they got so popular just like at that age. They were popular in high school, but they wound up being popular in like every high school in PG County, Maryland, out to DC, all to the point where they were getting booked for shows. They were, you know what I'm saying? And they were doing really good. And these were high school kids. They had no label. They were just doing the music, and they just picked up a buzz. And one of them is signed now. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like, it's just crazy the access and the ability to do that stuff now in comparison to them. And they were just putting it on SoundCloud, YouTube, and you know, all the kids listen to them. they performing at other schools' proms. They out of town. They like it was a girl named Rico Nasty. I remember her in the area, and then she's on Insecure. You know what I'm saying? It was just like it's just a different. It's kind of just crazy. Yeah, it's just different how you can like Nika was saying. If you know how to you can just boom and do your thing and make a good correct. You might not be Jay-Z, but you're making a good independent career of making music for yourself without some of the other things that back in the
headaches.
That people had to do. And I just thought it was amazing because this was a high school kid. I would see him in class every day, but if he would go out in this area, he was like a superstar. You know what I'm saying? So
one thing that the teens have is that they live on this social media. They know how to work these phones and know how to work the system way more than we do. You know what I mean? So they're the ones who are able to get on. I got my new assistant now. I'm like, yo, just help me with TikTok. I don't even know what you're supposed to do with this shit. Like, you know what I mean? So, and then you got so many people who are our age who say, yo, I don't fuck with social media. And I tell people every day, dog, that's like saying you want to sell drugs, but you don't want to go outside. Nigga, you want to do something? Nowadays, you have to be on social media. You can't say, I don't. And that's the thing. These teens, we don't have to convince them of that. If we could try to convince them to get off social media, you know what I mean? And we have to convince the older artists to get on social media because that's where it is. Trey, you talked about relationships and just, I guess, Nika and Trey, I want y'all to kind of talk about in the mirror how important those relationships are. Because I think what a lot of people forget is that once you say you want to be independent, that means you have to do everything yourself. Keeping in mind, Google and Premiere, they finished the album, they done. They giving it they giving it that department, the master, they going to marketing, got to do their job, radio got to do their job. They're done. You know what I mean? So the people who would call me at the radio station, and Nika, you was there with me, those people would call us every week like, yo, we need this on this and we need this. Those are the people who will build the relationships. You know what I mean? Like, those were the people. I can't think of too many reps who were like assholes. They were all cool to us, at least, because they needed us. I don't know if y'all watched the Wu-Tang show, but if you remember when Ghost and them was trying to get it was like Ghost and Ray at their crib, and they was trying to get on, and Ghost's girl was like, yo, you can't be calling a radio station cursing at them. Like, yo, give me the phone. Let me call for you. See, that's the thing. That's why you need a Nika. You need a PR. Because you may be an ill rapper, but you may be an asshole. Like, just keeping it a buck. So you can't call me. You can't call me like, yo, motherfucker, kill, play my shit. Like, nigga, who the fuck are you talking to? Like, you gotta understand how to work those relationships. Trey, you on mute first though.
Yeah.
I got one story that's gonna sum up the whole relationship aspect. I don't care if you're on a major, if you're independent. The relationship is the most important. Prime example. The theme is Party Time is clearly my most successful record worldwide. Right, but you'd be surprised who passed on the theme is Party Time in the beginning. We did the record, and we serviced the record to Clue. We serviced the record to
Clue ain't pick it up.
Lex. We serviced the record to it was a bunch of DJs. Cosmic Kev. Nah.
Wow.
One person was the domino effect to the success of the theme, and that was Cool DJ Red
Alert. Yes, sir.
Wow.
Once he stamped it, all the dominoes fell. Because he is he's definitely Flex's mentor. You see what I'm saying? And that was it. So based on the relationship, based off of Red Alert's cosign, that's when everybody fell in line. And that is on a major label. So I can't express to you what the importance is being independent. We already talked about RJ Payne and his relationships. You see what I'm saying? So the relationship is the most important thing out of all this shit, even more than money.
Facts.
Right. Now, Nika, doing PR, what do you think? Because again, I think you're excellent at your job because I know you, I know your spirit, I know the relationships you have. But how do you build those relationships? If you were helping an independent artist, how would you try to explain to them how to build relationships with people?
So, you.
Oh, you breaking up again. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Keep talking. Yeah, it's doing it again. Try to log off and come back on because that worked the last time too.
Okay.
All right. And I just think it's so important because even when people are on Twitter, and I'm always trying to get them to understand that you can't tag 500 people with your new single. Like, that's not a good, thanks, Pig. That's not a good marketing strategy. It's actually a lazy marketing strategy. And I'll be real with you, I don't know about other people, it pisses me the fuck off because now I got 50,000 tweets coming in because you, instead of trying to go out to people individually, you try to just lump them all together. What are you saying, JR?
You see how Styles just did to that dude maybe a week ago, and he had to let him know because it was a dude that was tagging him in like so many times, and he finally was like, dude, stop tagging me. I'm not feeling your joint. Keep doing what you're doing, but stop tagging me in all of these because, like, it's too much. Like he was like, yo, in one tweet, you tagged me 32 times, and like he quote tweeted him and was like, yo, you doing too much. He was like, that's not gonna make me listen. And now I'm already listening with an attitude because you did that, and now I'm gonna like slaughter your shit. And he did. Like he was like, yo, this joint ain't good. So he was like, yo, stop tagging me, because that's what, I see a lot of people doing that. Just even doing podcasts, period. You see a lot of people just tagging people, and it's just like, dude, don't do that. But like I see what Trey like saying now with relationships. I'm learning that now with me and Elise doing R&B rap. It's like, yo, the relationships that we building, it's now that people are seeing that, yeah, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis is rocking with us. Now all of a sudden, the people that we were asking for earlier is all of a sudden want to be like, oh, yo, we're doing interviews now. And it's like, really? You know what I mean? So I'm like,
but that's the nature of the beast, bro. That ain't nothing but the vapors. That ain't nothing but, yo, shorty won't rap with me before, now I got a beard, now she all up on me. You know what I mean? Like, that's just life. You know what I mean? But I definitely feel you on that. Nika, you back? Talk to us. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get Nika real quick before we break up. Just if you could just jot it down, so you don't forget it. But Nika, the importance of relationships. How do you? I got you now. How do you build the relationships? What would you tell somebody?
Okay, so what I was saying was, in 1998, I interned at 92Q, right? And on my first day there, Frank Ski said, the same people you meet on your way up is the same people you meet on your way down at the Quarterly. And ever since then, I've just made sure that no matter who I meet, be it face-to-face, be it email or whatever, I'm overly dramatic because I overly want you to know that, it's nice to meet you. We exchanging numbers, whatever. I'm a follow-up. If you give me your business card, I may call, I may text, I may email. Hey, it was great meeting you. And going forward, if it's a media contact, when I reach out, like especially the first time, I'm trying to figure out who they are. If it's a writer, who you are as a writer. If you are, a news anchor, what type of stories you cover. If you're a vlogger, same thing. So that I make sure that when I'm, sending you something, it is definitely something that fits what you do. Right? You don't want to have a hip hop concert and I'm sending it to a classical writer. Like, it doesn't work. So that's one thing. And also, I've always made sure that whatever the hell I'm pitching, it is good quality. If it's music, if it's an event, what have you, because at the end of the day, that's me. Like, that media outlet didn't get the phone call from Joe, who's the promoter of this event. Like, he got the phone call from me. Or they didn't get the phone call from, I work with sports, so they didn't get the phone call from one of the boxers. They got the phone call from me. So if that boxer does an interview or what have you, and it's not good, they're looking at me like, hey, Nika, you called me about this guy and it wasn't good. So as an independent artist, my advice to you is just to make sure your stuff is good. And please don't harass people. like JR's story that I popped in on, that's a no-go. Because then you do that, we have conversations. Publicists talk to other publicists, journalists talk to other journalists. I'm sure y'all talk to other, people who host podcasts or who, talk hip-hop, what have you. And that one person, let's just say this rapper's name is PZZ, and PZZ pissed off JoJo the DJ. JoJo gonna tell his homeboy gonna tell his homeboy, and then you just blacklisted yourself for no reason. Relax, chill. I have to remind clients, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not gonna happen overnight. I can't tell you not one person who has been doing music that has had some overnight success. It may feel like it to us because we didn't know who you were yesterday, but you was grinding. You might have been grinding 5 years, 10 years, who knows? Yeah. So make sure it's quality. When you are reaching out to people, I'm sure you have friends that can write. If you having problems with writing, find a friend that can write. I'm sure you have friends that do graphics. I'm sure you have friends that, have contacts or are popular and have a lot of followers and can help. I would use my resources, pull my people together, create my own team and make it work.
Right. I love that. Eddie, I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
Yeah, and the funny thing is kind of bouncing off of what Nika said. My note was, I feel like we're building an indie ecosystem. For lack of a better term, right? So, and it's not just like about our platform, we're building our platform, but we're also building a community in the same way, right? And that community, it helps us all, it helps the artists, it helps us as content creators, and all it takes is one artist blows up, or let's say our podcast blows up, and those particular artists that showed us love, that came on, that we rock with, we're not just gonna forget them, and we will hope it's the same way, because we're building that community, we're showing each other respect, we have that mutual respect for everyone, and kind of doing it the right way. Like guys like Ruben, Check the Rhyme, he'll show up on our Twitter spaces, we'll show love to him on his Twitter spaces, and a lot of the same independent artists that we rock with, he's doing his thing with them as well. So
yeah. And I think it's a thing too, a lot of people don't know how to build relationships. That's just really what it comes down to with, you have people who, I said, you could be an amazing MC or an incredible producer, and you're just not a people person. And that's where, like Nika said, you have to try to build a team, but then you also have to be willing to pay people for what they do. You know what I mean? You may need to, if you want to be an independent label, and we always talk about how the producer nowadays gets the last check because, cats are selling beats for 99 cents or, selling beats for free. But it's you got to be willing to, I was telling Trey when we were talking, I want to definitely talk about Chance, Trey, what you want to speak about on that. But the situation is that if you're a homeowner and you want to redo your basement, it's going to cost money. Don't waste the contractor's time if you don't have the money. You know what I mean? Don't do that. Get the contractor when you got the money and you're ready to go. But the problem is how many independent artists really know how much it costs to put out a project? Probably not a lot. Most people probably don't know. Most people probably don't even do the research. See, at least when you do your house, I go to Trey's crib. Yo, Trey, I love your bathroom, man. How much did it cost? He could tell me. He passed me his contractor's card. I could start saving. I think most independent artists think, all I need is the $25 a year for DistroKid and I'm good. You know what I mean? I got a producer. We gonna rock together and this and that. But you forget the reason why nobody's listening to your stuff is because you didn't hire the PR person. You're not a people person. You didn't hire somebody to do promotions for you. If you're not a social media person, who in your squad can help with that? And maybe you can ask them to invest, but I'm also just always telling independent artists, pay folk for what they do. You know what I mean? Because you want to always get the hookup, but I'm just a big advocate of paying people for their skills. Maybe they're not charging you the whole price. Maybe you're just blessing them with something, But if I'm busting my ass to blow you up, like, bro, throw me something. You know what I mean? So that's just always my kickback, because I feel like we always ask our friends to do stuff for free. And, you know, that's cool to a certain extent. Then I have a homegirl who's a lawyer, and she like, Kill, you get one free card. You know, you get one free, you know, ask me about this contract, and that is that. Like, nigga, I am a lawyer. I'm not playing games with you, Kill. You my man, but you get one time. So use that one time, you know, when you really need it. But and she's drawing that line. I think it's okay to do that. It's okay to say, hey, I'm going to do this one design for you, but after that, it's going to cost. So I'm going to do this one beat to invest in you, but after that, it's going to cost him. You have to just understand, as an independent artist, it costs money to put out a project. And it costs money. Trey, you want to talk about Chance. What did you want to dive in about Chance?
Nah, man, because again, as far as people saying you're independent, but you're really not. You know what I mean? Like that, he's a prime example. Not only, you know.
Now, school me on Chance. School me, because I first heard Chance, I think, with the Acid Rain album. You know what I mean? I think that was the name of it. Acid Rain. That's what Acid Rap. Thank you. I said Acid Rain. It's been a long week in the hood, y'all. Acid Rap. I said Acid Rain. Acid Rap. JR, I'm right up there. What you say on your podcast the other day? You said what?
Crisco Kid.
Yeah, Crisco Kid. You call him Crisco Kid. So yeah, it's been a long week, y'all. Acid Rap. And it was like, okay. And I'm like, he was on this show Chicagoland on CNN. I was like, yo, that dude sound kind of dope. Let me look him up. I'm like, oh, he's an indie artist. Woo, woo, woo. Then he dropped, you know, the next joint, which I love. I feel like the next project that I can't remember the name of is a 5 mic classic, in my opinion. And then the Coloring Book. I love that album. And then the last album he just put out, that me and his daughter are only two people who like, was his major label debut. So, Trey, those two albums were not independent?
Well, it's a slippery slope, because from the technical perspective, yes. You know what I'm saying? But going back to the relationships, how the relationship is the most important thing. I mean, his pops is good with President Obama at the time. You understand what I'm saying?
Wow.
So there's rooms that this dude can get in that nobody else can get in. You see what I'm saying? So you gotta kind of be careful with that, man.
All right, here's a good pushback. Because remember, in the beginning of the show, well, no, you did say relationships. You did. Okay, cool. You did. All right. For people watching, I was gonna say, I thought me and Trey agreed when we said, you know, you're independent if you don't have major distribution. But Trey did say, and also the relationships that you keep around you. Okay.
Yeah, so I
those
mean,
matter.
Yeah, those are that's why I stand on it. Those are the most important. And we don't know where, and you know, I'm not in his books, but we don't know where the funding's coming from for him to get in these spaces, for him to be a true independent. He was damn sure on a lot of major platforms.
All right. Let me push back on this. Because and again, all I knew, because the hype was, Chance was the first independent artist to be on Saturday Night Live. Like, I remember that. Like, that was one of his things. Like, he was the first independent artist to be on Saturday Night Live. Now, tell me this, Trey. If you have whatever kind of money, drug money, rich white uncle money, however you get the money, does that stop you from being independent?
Nope, not at all. Because if it's coming out of your pocket, you know what I'm saying? That was my caveat.
All right, so your thing is it has to be coming out of your pocket specifically. So, like, for instance,
entity, from something that you created, whether it be you personally or the entity that you created, and it's coming out of your funding.
All right. You know so, if I'm an artist and my mom says,
not
"Kill,"
coming from a major source, but go ahead.
If my mom says, "Kill," I'm gonna give you my whole retirement. Like, son, I love you. I'm gonna gamble on you. I'm gonna double down, and she gives me $100K.
That's fine.
Am I independent?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
If JR is a drug dealer and he gives me the money,
still independent.
I'm independent.
Still independent.
Okay. All right. I'm just trying to get the grasp of. Okay. All right.
I'm having a hard time understanding how, like, Chance is sort of being penalized for the relationships that he has that people that he has relationships with have relationships with. Do you know what I mean? Like, how it isn't that what we were just saying is like sort of the should be like sort of the foundation of somebody independent is to have those relationships in that network.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, I'm not in the books, but we always got to follow the money trail. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You got to ask yourself the question: how was he able to get on a major network, NBC, Saturday Night Live, being a true independent?
That's true.
Well, but what if Lil Pookie from the West Side says, "I love this little nigga Chance. He make me laugh. How much do you need for Saturday Night Live? $500K."
He ain't got the money nor the relationship to get him on Saturday.
Well, I would have to say Little Pookie. I mean, again, I'm not in no drug dealer's bag, but kind of like that time when what was my man Cuddy was like, "Yo, Avon, can I get 10K?" Avon like, "Nigga, 10K, go get this nigga 100,000. Get the fuck out of here, nigga. You up here asking me for 10,000."
It's like it's more about the relationship, though.
There's no drug dealer that you know that can get anybody on Saturday Night Live.
I mean, right. I get that. Yeah. And you know what? I haven't seen it yet, and I need to watch it. It's so much stuff to watch. But is it Clarence Avant? Is that was the dude on Netflix that like he was like the connector of everybody? And he was cool with the streets and he was cool with everybody. So if that's my uncle, like Porsche said, am I penalized because my uncle is this boy right here who can get me in the rooms?
No, but again, I'm not in the books, so you don't know. See, that's what I'm saying. So okay, so we're talking about circumstantial evidence versus. Now I'm getting into my lawyer.
Yeah. See, now you in your lawyer bag. Now you like circumstances. You have to dumb it down. You have to dumb it down. I watch Law and Order, and sometimes I don't understand what they're saying. The people watching don't understand either, but they just don't want to say it. I will say it for us all. Circumstances. Break this down for us, brother. Break it down. I took remedial English at Morgan my first year.
What it appears to be. Go ahead, Amir.
For the record, I understand this. For the record,
I will be the slow one. I will be the slow one on the panel. I have no problem being that. I
just want to state that.
I have no problem being the slow one. Trey, break it down. Talk to me slow. Okay, break it down.
It's what it appears to be versus what it actually is.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Now, there's a higher level of proof. Right, you know what I'm saying? In this particular case, this is not a murder charge, right? So this is something that we just have to go on. It's an eye test essentially, man. You got to use your intelligentsia a little bit. You talking about unprecedented, uncharted waters. When you talk about an artist, you know what I mean? Again, and I'm gonna use that Saturday Night Live platform. You talking about an artist that is able to, as an independent, to be able to get on Saturday Night Live, right? First project. You got to ask yourself how.
Right.
I think I understand it because I think what Trey's saying is the likelihood of any. So we're going to talk about the independent artists that we know. Like we're talking I Am God. We're talking King James. We're talking, like just any person who sends us their stuff to kind of listen to, right?
Well, I would almost say this, Porsche. I would put them on, I don't know if we're going up or down, but I would put Chance at least, even before Saturday Night Live, at least the 2 tiers above I Am God.
Well,
because he was on, like I said, I first saw Chance on CNN. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't seen I Am God or any of the folk I fuck with on any type of... Wow. It was a reality show called Chicagoland that was about the mayor, the police chief, and the police principal of the worst school in Chicago. Very dope show. Chicagoland, watch it, everybody. And they were doing a hip hop episode of Chicagoland. And what it was is that Chance was just performing at an outdoor concert that was going on. I heard the song. I said, man, that sounds dope. I wonder who this kid is. So it's not like he was on the show and he didn't have a talking part. It literally would have just been like he was performing. He may not have been on stage for no more than 2 minutes. You know, so hold tight because everybody wants to talk. Nika, you were saying something first, then Rel, then Eddie.
It sounds to me like he had a good publicist. Period.
I love it. I love that you said that.
With great relationships and connections. And if his dad is connected, or maybe his dad, you know, had the finances to pay for him a top tier publicist, and a top tier publicist can easily usher you in, especially if they have a nice roster. Like, you want Jay-Z? I can give you Jay-Z, but when you talk to Lil Chance first, like, that's what it sounds like to me. Just my thoughts. Like,
all right, and Rel, what were you gonna say?
I think it's not so much an indictment of him having it. I think it's more so context in comparison to other independent artists. Like, you know what I'm saying?
There you go. There you go.
It's not an indictment. Like,
never an indictment. Very proud of that brother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He did exactly what he was supposed to do. But like you just said, bro, it's putting it in context. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's how I took it. Like, just the context of how he was able to achieve certain things. It's not an indictment. It's just like it's context, just facts, and how did this happen? And it doesn't happen for some other people. It's not an indictment, but it's just context of the situation of different independent artists. Because it's independent artists that I know have a large fan base now that would not get on Saturday Night Live. You know what I'm saying?
I am God. Has a big fan base for sure.
I can go high.
What I want us to do too is kind of look at how we say big fan bases. Okay, so there are people who, like, with IG. If I've heard from some social media people that if you don't have at least 100,000 followers on IG, you don't have a following. So if you don't have 100,000, you don't have a following. I Am God does not have 10,000 people following him on Twitter. So I just want us to be in context of how the world looks at a big. People look at me like, "Kill, you got a big following." According to social media people, I'm fucking 83,000 people away from actually having a big following. So
I was gonna say one of my favorite independent artists, Currency, has a big, I would consider a big following. But I don't know if Currency will be on Saturday Night Live. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just context of the situation. You know what I'm saying? So that's all. That's how I took it. You know what I mean?
I think in those situations.
Hold on for a second, man. I had Eddie up next. Hold on for a second, man. I'm gonna get Eddie, and then I'll come to you. What were you gonna say, Eddie?
Yeah. So my point, kind of bouncing off of what Rel said. Actually, what Rel saying, what he said, ties into my next point, which was when Chance first came out, like out of nowhere, I heard everyone talking about, like, yo, dude must be an industry fan. You know what I mean? And I'm sure people have heard that term float around for different artists, but with Chance, it was definitely that sort of thing where people are like, yo, where did he come from? Like, did he pay his dues? Like, did he pay his dues, and how did he get on this platform so quick? He must be an industry plant. And, you know, I'm not gonna place that on him, but that's just what the streets were saying, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's unheard of.
I mean, I think it's. I mean, you go. I'm writing down my points. What you gonna say, man?
You mean we still talking about Chance, man? People forget this dude went to private school and prep school since before hip hop, and then he was at the University of Chicago, right, by himself. So he always had, like, that audience is not the same corner store, I'm in the hood audience. Like, he was already ingrained in that culture. He was already like a member of that tribe by default before he even started, you know. And if your father has political ties and knows the Obamas and et cetera, and, you know, all of these other variables, I don't even think at that point it was an issue of anything besides him. And I read an article, his father told him not to sign. His father was the reason why he didn't do it. It wasn't Chance making that decision. But if your father also can get Obama to say you're one of his favorite rappers, and then everything just, like you said, a domino effect after the fact. It's like, these are political plays / social plays combined with a lot of other things in harmony, but most importantly, relationships. It goes back to what Trey was saying prior. The relationships are the most pivotal thing for something like this.
Right. Now, Trey, tell me this, because we started the show saying people screaming independent, but they're really not. Chance falls under that banner for you?
Quasi, yes. Quasi.
Okay.
Quasi, yes. And the only reason is because he's an anomaly. He's the only person that there was none before him that was able to do what he has been able to do under the independent moniker, and nobody after.
I feel you. I think I disagree because he doesn't. And again, just for me, my definition was if you don't have any major distributions, you know what I mean? Like who you're related to. Right. And it's like, that's why I can't, like Poor said, I can't hold it against you that your uncle is Russell Simmons. Like, so all the Runs kids, you know, of course you're going to have crazy opportunities that other kids aren't going to have, you know, but I can't, if you really get out here and grind, I can't hold against you. Like, I can't, you know, kind of like how Denzel Washington's son is, you know, how he was saying that he didn't want nobody to know that he was Denzel's son. I didn't even know he was on Ballers, and I was like, yo, dude, kind of good actor. I was like, oh shit, that's Denzel's son. And he would talk about how he wanted to go in places and he didn't want anybody to give him a free line to the basket because he was Denzel's son. He wanted to earn it on his own, which is great. But then you have some people that on the flip side, I hear people say, yo, I joined this fraternity or I joined this sorority because I heard about the relationships and the doors that would be open for me if I said, hey, you a Kappa, I'm a Kappa, hook me up. But I feel like we're fighting to get those relationships. And I feel like it's almost like it's a knock on chance because he already had it.
But like Rel said, it's not an indictment. It's not.
But isn't it kind of because you're saying he?
No, I'm not. Don't mince my words. I'm not. Yeah, no. I'm just saying it's not an indictment, but it's not unveiling. You know what I'm saying? You're still not giving everybody all of the information. Like Rel said, you can't come out here and say, yo, I'm an independent, but not unveiling what it is that you have access to in order for you to afford, because it could be misconstrued by an independent that doesn't have that. So now you got independents coming out here that aren't afforded these relationships and aren't afforded the access that you have.
Right.
So I could do that too. No, you
but
can't.
But Trey, isn't that with everything? Because here's the thing: does West Side Gun have to come out and say, I sold 400 tons of cocaine, y'all? Boys and girls, y'all cannot do what I do because this is what I had to do. Or do we need these actresses in Hollywood to say, hey, girls, don't come to Hollywood because I had to turn tricks for 5 years and I fucked every movie director in Hollywood. Don't just think y'all could do this, because everybody, for the most part, had to do some type of shit to get their foot in the door. Right. And nobody is gonna be like people just be like, I just flew to Hollywood and I just auditioned for a role and now I'm Halle Berry.
That's a problem. It's misleading. That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree with you. And you know what? Putting it that way, I do agree with you, because I see where you're coming from with the example that I just gave. So I do agree with you, because you're right. People believe, one of my homegirls just moved to Hollywood on some old, well, Taraji just said she just moved to Hollywood and she just tried to audition for a little while, and and I'm like, I think Taraji probably did a couple other things maybe to get Hollywood. No disrespect, I'm not disrespecting anybody, but we ain't gonna act like the word the casting couch just came up, I just came up with the casting couch. No, there's a such thing as the casting couch. Like, we ain't gonna play that game. Like, folk don't, you know what I mean? I'll never forget who was it. Was a comedian, and he was talking about how him and Tyrese was up for the role of, you know what, I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm not gonna say anything else. I know exactly. I'm not gonna say anything else. Because I don't want nobody coming at me talking about you disrespecting somebody's memory over some rumor. I'm just gonna say, you know who came out and talked about the casting couch? What's Shorty's name? I'm gonna figure it out. But I see what you're saying, Trey, because you're right. It is misleading to say, because you're right. All these years, I believe if I just make dope hip hop, then I'll get on, because that's how Jay got on, and that's how Ye got on, and that's how all these people got on. You know, but like I said earlier, when you're telling my teens you can be Jay-Z, I'm like, you're secretly telling them to be a drug dealer. Because if you want them to get where Jay-Z did, then you have to get them to do what Jay-Z. If you want them to get to be where Jay-Z is, then you have to get them to do what Jay-Z did to get to where he is.
Right.
And Jay, if everybody remembers, nobody would sign Jay-Z. Nobody.
Right.
So they had to make Rockefeller themselves, which was funded by drug money. I don't think I'm snitching on nobody. I think that's kind of basically known. Jay has told you what he had to do. So that's the thing. Like if I look at what Trey did and I'm like, hey, I want to be like Trey. What'd you do? You went to Howard, you went to law school. Okay, now I can be Trey. So I do see what you're saying, that if we want to really be honest about this, we have to say these are the steps we take if we want to help the people that are coming behind us.
Thanks.
That's the key point. It goes back to Trey about your point when you said, I don't want to be in this mix with the record industry. From the interns I did, by the time I was a senior, I was like, yo, I don't think I could be in this industry, man. Like, this is some wild shit. And I literally was like, yo, do I want to change my character and who I am to be a part of this industry? And after all these years of wanting that, after all these years of interning, like when I graduated Morgan, everybody like, yo, you ain't got nothing to worry about. You have jobs everywhere. And I didn't want to be in that industry. You know what I mean? And people said I was bugging, and it was like people was like, I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do with my life. I wanted this. My mentor was like, yo, you should work with kids. I was like, fuck kids. I hate kids. I don't want to fucking work with kids. And now 21 years later, I'm still working with kids. You know what I mean? But I think it goes back to that trait that I don't think the average person cares about. How you said, I don't want you to think I'm with them. I don't want you to think I'm one of them. And I don't think the average person thinks that way or wants to help that next independent artist that's coming up understand this shit ain't easy. This shit is a grind and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Nika, what were you going to say? Before I want to get Nika before.
Okay.
I'm this to add to.
Oh, you cracking up again. We got you. Come out and come right back in. Just come out and come back in. Trey, what were you going to say?
Now I was going to say, and on the flip side of that, if you really want to be associated with the industry, the key is to make the industry come to you.
Right.
Not you go to the industry. You understand?
Right. Because even when we think about the Master P's, those people who could press up records, Master P was doing some shit. You know what I mean? Like, and if he wasn't, then he was his old, somebody was. You know, niggas wasn't just being able to press up records and drive state to state. Again, working at UPS. You don't have the time of the day to deliver packages and then get in your car and drive up and down the West fucking coast selling records at every swap meet. So again, when you're saying you could be Jay-Z, I feel like, or when you could be Nipsey Hussle, again, to be that, if somebody says, Kill, you could be the next Trey Lee, then I have to follow Trey's footsteps or something like that. I don't have to go to the same schools, but it's like, oh, okay, I go to undergrad, okay, I go to law school, okay, and then I clerk. You have to sometimes follow that, and to follow that means, like, I think Nip said he had a line. We say he had something like $100 grand in his mom's backyard buried, and the money got rotted. Like, anybody up here got $100,000 just buried in their mother's backyard? I don't think so. So not too many people who work a 9 to 5 just got $500K buried in your fucking mother's backyard, and it rotted, and you're okay with it. Like, oh fuck it, we lost $2K, we'll be back. Like,
what if you didn't know Trey's process? And that's the thing with Chance. What if you're just looking at Trey's final product and you're like, I want to do that, but you don't know what Trey went through on a major, to schooling, to education, to working, and you don't know that. And I think that's the example with Chance. Not an indictment. It's just
great point.
A lack of information for other independent artists. If you're trying to follow that template, you're going to think that you can, and you can't. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
Nika, what were you gonna say, babe?
I'm gonna say this. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, you good.
Lizzie Grubman, are y'all familiar with her?
I'm not.
So Lizzie Grubman was the entertainment publicist that made being a PR girl cool. She had a TV show on VH1 and everything. Lizzie Grubman's dad is Alan Grubman, who is an entertainment lawyer. She got what she got because of her dad's relationship. He introduced her to Puff. She started throwing his white parties and doing different events, blah, blah, blah. Like, she didn't just wake up and say, hey, I want to be a publicist and do the work and grind to get there. She had a catalyst, which was her dad. There was a platform created for her.
Right.
I can't do what she does.
Right.
Because I don't have those same relationships. My daddy can't introduce me to Diddy or whomever. So that's what happened with Ted. It's like the average person can't do what they did because of who they are. And that's kind of life though. You know, like
that's life.
Yeah.
That's
how your parents set you up, that's, you know.
Yep, absolutely.
And
I'm so glad that I don't have a connection to Pop. I am so glad.
But Trey, I totally see what you're saying. Once I thought about it, once I thought about it from the acting perspective, because that does bother me. And one of the things I do like about Tyler Perry is he'll talk about how he was homeless. You know what I mean? How he was sleeping in his cars and the struggle that he and so I totally see what you're saying. From you have to talk about the struggle so that you know. But again, if you want to help the next person, and I think that's the thing that we're in the industry where most people are not thinking about helping the next person and helping to give them the breadcrumbs. Like this is what I had to do and this is what I had to do. So before you pack up and sell all your shit, move to California, ask yourself if you're willing to be homeless for 2 years and sleep in your car. You know, are you willing to do that? You know what I mean? And all those things. So that's a great point. Tell me this, y'all. What and I love this because it's definitely different than what we usually do. Tell me this, y'all. What do you think post 2000 or 2010 or whatever? What has been like the dopest independent record label for you, or dopest independent artist? However you define that. If you define it as I Am God, that's fine. If you define Most as being independent because he was on Raucous, you know, however you define it yourself, that's cool. But what would you say is the dopest independent, not the most successful, not about money, but the dopest indie artist and the dopest indie label for you? Porsche, what you got?
So the dopest indie label to me, actually, and Trey is always here when we talk about stuff to do with Trey, so people think we're just saying this because he's here.
Well, no, we talk about Trey even when he's not here. So I mean, so
people forget that. But I'm gonna say Left Entertainment, which is Trey's label and Trey's entire entity, and the reason for that is because, as far as I know, and Trey, correct me if I'm wrong, everything that Trey does in terms of music, videos, books, everything is funneled out through that entity, and he is that. So I don't think he's got any other.
You're muted.
Can't forget Lori Lee as well.
And Lori Lee.
Please don't forget wifey. Never forget the wife.
Never.
She's the brain of all of this.
There you go. So it to me that is a dope, fully independent label to me, because that's where Trey and Lori Nelson Lee funnel all of their creative work through that one entity, and they're the ones doing it and putting up the money for it and doing all of that. So Lori Nelson Lee just came out with that hip hop book for kids, and that was also done. So this is a collaborative effort, and they're the ones promoting everything. So at every point when Trey or Lori, this is my first experience with Lori releasing something, but from what I've seen, it's always been Lori and Trey at the front lines, being the face. They're the back end and they're the face. So for me, that's the dopest for me.
All right, no doubt. Nika, what about you?
I don't have one.
I ain't got one now.
All right.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to follow that definition. That's just my definition.
It don't have to follow her definition. It don't have to follow her definition.
No, definition was so
You're breaking up again. Yeah.
Maybe
come back on. Just yeah. As soon as you come back on, we whoever talking, just shut up, and we gonna let Nika talk because we know it only lasts. You know.
Maybe it's the headphones.
Nah, it's all good. We always got technical difficulties up here. For me, I'm gonna go with Mellow Music Group They've got a lot of stuff. The two of my favorite hip hop albums over the past, probably from 2010 to 2020, was Skyzoo and Pete Rock's Retropolitan. Yep. That was on Mellow Music, and Home Sweet Home, which was Big Pooh and Knott's project, which is on that. But I mean, they got a rack of people: Joel Ortiz, OC, Jean Grey, Raz Kass, Big Pooh, Pete Rock. So that's it. And
Odyssey.
Apollo Brown.
Yeah, Apollo Brown has stuff on there.
Guilty has stuff off
Guilty, there. Yeah, Guilty and Apollo have something on that. And again, this is if you know me long enough, then you know that this is here's the wild part, y'all. I'm so old, I don't even get what the fuck no capping or you capping means. Like, this is how old I am. Like, I mean, I know it means, like, what does that shit even mean? Like, when people be like, no cap.
You fronting.
You fronting. Okay. I'm dead. I mean, I don't mind saying I don't know.
Someone put the emoji on Twitter, and I was like, someone put the hat emoji on Twitter, and I was like, is someone missing a hat? Like, are we looking for a hat? And they're like, push up, log off. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm done. Get him out.
Again, so I'm saying all that to say that this is no cap. I don't even try and use a young slang. Like, I ain't drawing or whatever. You's from Philly, you understand what I'm saying. I would say Trey is my favorite independent artist over these years. And it's because, again, if you know me and you listen to Apartment 5B, I knew Trey's music when he was L Rock at Howard. I was a fan of him before he even had a record deal. I was a fan of him in 92. And I say this all the time. If you were at Howard, and I'm going to shut up right now because Nika's back. Nika, what were you saying?
I was saying, my answer is it's so political. Like, I don't want anybody to say, "Oh, they watched this and I picked the label." I can't.
No, I understand. I always tell Amir and Trey that too, and you in the game. So I always leery. I don't want y'all to give no answer that is gonna mess y'all up. So I totally understand what you're saying. Like I said, if you was at Howard in 92, 93. Trey's crew one step beyond that whole Power Move production, that was an entity within itself. Like, literally. Like, again, their demos were songs that ended up on Trey's album. Like, to this day, a group one step beyond that, nobody, if you didn't go to Howard, no one has heard of. I swear to you, I bet you every record in here that if One Step would have came out,
man,
bro,
greatest duo, greatest two-man group ever in my eyes, and I may be biased, but
yeah, I can't go that far. I can't go the EPMD route.
I'm going that far.
Right, I feel you.
If they would have got a shot,
yo, if again,
it wasn't Stars in the East.
Stars in the East, One Step. Yeah, yes. They're on that. Yes. They're on that. Yes. Their stuff was so. I've never heard any demos on the level of what Trey and One Step had ever. From working at the radio station from 93 to 2000, from being in studios, I've never heard songs that were on your demo that ended up on somebody's album. This is how great their songs are. So I just say all that to say, again, just like the Echo Porsche, I'm not saying this because Trey is on the show, but like I said, I had people at Morgan as a fan of L Rock. Again, and Trey, you got what? The thing came out 97, 98, right?
End of 96.
End of 96. I had niggas talking about L Rock on Morgan's campus in 93. Yep. I had niggas from New York who were front on everything from Philly. Anything from Philly. And I would play them L Rock. I wouldn't even tell them he was from Philly because I knew they were front. You know what I mean? So that's why I just say, like, and to see what he's been able to do with Glory, how he's been able to extend this over what we going on the third year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, we're going on the third year and folk are still talking about this album, which is unheard of because y'all know how it is. Conway you'll have more hype for the Conway album that's about to come out. It'll come out and then nobody talking about it in 2 months. Maybe even not even a month later. You know what I mean? So how he's been able to stretch out Glory over 3 years from the merch to the videos to the books. So that would be my answer. JR, what about you?
Now watching this, I had like a different thing because I was going to say the whole foreign exchange was coming to mind.
I think that's indie, right?
Yeah.
But they had, when they first started in 2008 to 2011, they was with E1 Music. Then they got a distribution deal with Empire.
Right.
So I'm like, are they really indie?
But you know what, bro? But you know what? Again, the thing I loved about this show is that we're all learning. So like I said, I was disagreeing with Trey, and now I'm like, nah, I see exactly where you're coming from. So maybe that was your definition before the show, and maybe from watching the show and hearing everybody talk, you're like, you know what? Now I kind of look at it like this.
It makes sense.
But I don't want to mess it up for you. Go for what you know.
Well, the question becomes: is E1 and Empire independent? They're not Sony. They're not Universal. They're not Warner.
Because they definitely not getting the money that they were getting.
They're not Sony. They're not Universal. They're not Warner. Those are the three majors.
Oh no, they ain't on that. Oh, all right. Well, then I stick with mine. I'm going with Foreign Exchange.
All right.
I'm going with them. Like since like, and then the people that's down with them, like Eric Roberson and you got Carmen Rogers and you got Yazara and Messina and all these people down with them, and it's just, to me, I just like them as a whole. And Zoe and all them.
I'm seeing Zoe on Saturday.
Oh, I wanted to go too.
You can go with me. Are you in the area?
No, it's my mom's birthday weekend, so I told Zoe already that I couldn't.
But I want y'all to link up because he's in Baltimore, Nika.
Okay. No, my homegirl that was supposed to go with me, she can't go. So
I wanted to go, but it's my mom's birthday weekend, so I'm gonna be with her. But they dope. Like they just dope, and they just make the music that I like. And it's no label telling them what type of music to make. They're doing what they want. They're releasing what they want, and they've been doing this since like really 2004, but since 2008 with Leave It All Behind, and from there they've been on it to me. So.
You know what, JR? I'm glad you said that because I forgot a point I wanted to make. I think, in my opinion, and what I want to give props to this crew because they don't get a lot of props for this. Souls of Mischief, that whole hieroglyphic crew, because they were one of the first people to really do the indie route through the internet. You know what I mean? Because the crazy thing that they did, what happened was they had to deal with Jive. They did 2 albums and they got dropped. But the great part about it is those two albums, they were able to tour the world. They had fans. They had all of that stuff that were looking for another album. You know what I mean? They got dropped, and then I don't know, somehow, some way they said, "Fuck it, let's do it independent." And I think they had that was the second album. I forgot the name of the album that I brought like in '97. It's like them on pyramids, and they got the Hyro face on the pyramids. But that was like their first indie album. Like that was going out, and I think like that's a great way to do it. I think, and Trey, you may agree or not, but like I feel like because Trey had the success of Many Faces, you had people checking for you and wondering, hey, what's up with that person that you wouldn't have, because if it wasn't for that deal, he would still be El Rock.
That's a fact.
You know what I mean? And nobody would know about. But when you say Trey Lee, you know the theme, so it's like, oh, yo, I love that album. Like, let me see what he's doing. And that gives you, how I always say when people be like, oh, I will listen if a new Rakim album drop. I'm like, niggas will listen to anything. Are you hype for a new Rakim album to drop? So that's the thing, like when you have that. So the thing, what I was just saying about Little Brother is they had their deal. The group kind of fell apart, but everybody knew who Fonte was. People love Fonte, so when he decided to do the Foreign Exchange, he had the fan base already to kind of follow right along with anything that Fonte was doing. And that's bugged because here's the thing. Me and Amir were talking about this. We forget that Del was Ice Cube's cousin.
Yep.
Right.
Relationship.
So I'm sure he got that deal with Elektra through Ice Cube. I'm sure maybe once they got dropped, maybe him and Hyro went to Cube, who was already doing Friday, and kind of understood the game and said, look, OG, my cousin, school us. We want to do this independent. How can we do that? So again, that's something that Del never hid. You knew from the door he was Ice Cube's cousin. You know what I mean? What were you going to say, Trey?
Nah, it's all relationship. I got my deal based off of the relationship I had with D-Dot and Mark Pitts, who all went to Howard with me. Me and Mark came in together, and Mark got his deal because he was the understudy of Puff and managing Big. Relationships.
Right. Which all started at Howard. You go to Lincoln. I don't know if you guys. I don't know if you.
I don't go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So relationships. Amir, what about you, bro? Dopest indie label. Your favorite indie artist over the past 10, 20 years. And again, if this is, I understand you in the game. I don't want you to offend nobody because industry niggas are sensitive. Like I know, trust me. So if you want to just
True Soul, man. Listen,
if you want to hit the pen,
Yeah,
True Soul.
thank you.
There you go. There you go.
You.
True Soul.
Hell yeah.
But outside of True Soul, I gotta give it. See, I had a few. See, to be honest, man, this might sound biased, but as far as the indie label, to me, I always looked at our Future Records and I looked at TDE as like indie, but they really were not.
Because I was gonna say, was TDE and they're not indie, right? They're like Kendrick gotta have some
indie vibe though. They have an indie
they were
audience.
considered indie.
Wow, word.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, until they got their deal with Interscope. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, see, that's when we have to draw. What was before Interscope? Like Good Kid, Mad City wasn't. That was Interscope, right?
Those
Section
mixtapes
80
were
was
not.
Section 80 was.
Section 80 was in
Section 80 was indie. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would say TDE for me, or because they built it brick by brick indie until they got to that point where they couldn't. The demand was beyond the scope of what they could provide. So when they joined with the major, it postured their business properly. It wasn't just a move out of thirst. It was an upright trajectory for what they were doing. And if the paperwork, I'm pretty sure Top Dog didn't let them smoke him on no contract. So at that point, to me, it was kind of sufficient. And the reason why I say True Soul is because, first of all, like everything that y'all saying, I'm a living example of that. As far as like the relationship, knowing that you got somebody in your corner that knows the fiber of the world that you're from, lived on your block, watch you kind of grow. You know what I'm saying? We weren't peers, but over the years, like I said, it's everything that you probably ever. I mean, not to even. Bro, the bottom line is relationships and how you. OG told me this in the barbershop. He said, Amir, don't be mad when people use you. Everybody using somebody. When they misuse you is when you should have a problem.
Yep.
And that's what the music industry is.
Facts.
That's a good point. Good point. Good point. Eddie, what you got, good brother?
All right, so I had jotted down my 3 top indie labels, right? First one, Kill mentioned, Mellow Music Group. JR mentioned one of mine, which was Foreign Exchange. My third one, Rhymesayers. Rhymesayers.
Yeah,
Rhymesayers
is real dope.
Such a dope indie label, man, doing it the right way, like, and even when they started, I think, when they kicked it off, it was just like Atmosphere and like A$AP Rock. So it was like, Rhymesayers, they were considered alt rap, you know what I mean? It was like hip hop for the kind of the kids that don't fit in, if you catch my drift. But then the artists that end up signing there, right? I mean, you got, MF Doom, MF Doom kind of played the fence, right? He was for the nerdy kids that didn't fit in, but the heads like MF Doom too, right? You got artists like Brother Ali, you got Evidence and Dilated, Cyrock, got Merce is on them, like so many dope, Jake One, right? Jake One. I want to say Freeway was rocking with them at some point.
Yep.
There's been a lot of artists rocking with them, and I feel like it's because, I mean, the way they doing their business and the respect for the artists and, their artistry. I mean, you'll never hear of anyone going to Rhymesayers and kind of changing their music or changing how they do things. They keep their artistry, and I feel like the fans appreciate it. And as Kill has mentioned before, their packaging of their product.
I just pulled out too. This packaging is Dilated's last album. You spark it open. Inside the inner fold, you've got what looks like Polaroids, and then on the back of the Polaroids are the credits for each song. So you just got different, because Evidence is a photographer. So like, I just thought that this was so ill. Like, this is how you have the track listing, and that you took the time to put that in it. And again, like I told Jake the other day, this is the stimulus package. I thought this was crazy with the album. It's a wallet, pull the money out. They got Free and Jake's face on it. The album credits on this. Like, again, Rhymesay is undefeated when it comes to their albums, their album art. And who's your artist?
My artist is right here, man. Trey Lee. No doubt. Like, and you know what I mean, just the move.
I think y'all saying that because I'm here, man. Y'all saying that.
Bro, if you know how much Porsche talks about you when you're not here, bro.
Listen, people think Tracy Lee's my lawyer. People think I'm like somehow connected to the industry because he's my lawyer. That's what they think. I'm not gonna say anything.
But I will say this, you know what I mean, like one that's on the come up is also right here. That's Amir, like, you know, and he only got the one product, the one project that I've heard so far. I know he got the other one on the way, but yo, like,
again, my album of 2021.
There you go. I mean, just to make that impact. You know what I mean? Just to make that impact on True Soul, being an artist, and leave that impression, yo, that like, I'm like, yo, whatever else Amir puts out, like, I'm a copy, yo. There's physicals, I'm a copy, yo. Stream it, whatever, yo. So definitely.
Thank you.
No doubt. So definitely a dope convo about this. Prayerfully it cleared things up for somebody at home.
You ain't asked us. You ain't asked us.
Fuck, man. I am sorry, y'all. Y'all know. Yo, once we get offline, I'll tell y'all what I was dealing with today to help you understand where my mind space is today. Trust me, y'all will. It will make sense. I apologize. Rel. Who is your?
How you doing, Kim?
I'm good, man. Nice to meet you, man. Nice to meet you. You from Philly, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Uptown.
cool. Me too. Uptown too, man. I apologize. Lime King Pike too, man. This is horrible, man. I feel bad. What's up, bro?
For a label, I like what Mass Appeal doing.
Dope. You know what? And on that, Mass Appeal, because I've literally, this is the rabbit hole I went down. They're distributed by Orchard, and that's what you were talking about earlier, right, Trey?
Orchard with Sony,
yeah. Orchard with Sony. Yeah. So like literally, it's just I went down this rabbit hole, and Mellow Music Group is now Orchard. They used to be distributed by Fat Beats, and then they just switched to Orchard in 2015. So they do a lot. Orchard does a lot of distribution, but yeah, Mass Appeal is dope.
Yeah, and I like more, just not even just the music and the artists, but the documentaries, the shows, the podcasts. They just are giving you a lot of good quality content, and it helps that, you know, my favorite rapper is involved in that. Of course, you know what I'm saying. And for my artists, I have two different stages in my life. One of my artists I really like and respect is Currency. I like.
Ooh, nice one.
I like his music. I like his work ethic. Like if you pull up Currency, like on Apple Music, it's 1 million albums, mixtape. Like he's just a testament that he has a fan base that's always going to mess with Currency. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was, you know, I like Currency. And then for where I'm at now in my life, because one of the reasons why I stopped doing music was bills. I had to like work and, you know, and provide. I got a daughter, you know what I'm saying? And it kind of sidetracked me, you know what I'm saying? So as an adult with a job and a home and bills, I think Tracy Lee's format fits me as an adult because he's not rapping to eat. You feel what I'm saying? It's for the love, and it's for putting out quality content, and it's educational for some of us. You know what I'm saying? So, but he also has his career and balancing the two, and that's where I'm at in my life now. So those are my two independent artists for two different stages in my life.
All right, no doubt. Porsche, I know you got a role.
Yeah.
Just where can they get at you, Porsche?
Just on Twitter at Porsche. That's pretty much it. Okay.
All right, no doubt.
I laughed because my Twitter crashed. But anyways, bye guys. Nice to see you. Take care.
All right, Trey, what about you?
Mine's and listen, thank all of you for, you know what I'm saying, the acknowledgement, the accolades, man. And I often say that I do what I do just because I love to do it, and you hit it on the head, bro. But you know, for people that I respect, for people that I love, for what I do, for you to receive it in that manner, man, that shit means everything. You know what I'm saying? That shit means everything. I can sit up here in front and say I do it for myself, but for the people that I respect and love, for you to receive it the way I intended it to be received, that shit is everything. So thank you. But for me, I have to give my acknowledgement and accolade to the person that I patterned myself after, which is Eric Roberson in Blue Arrow Soul. He is for what I do. I get on the phone with that brother. That is my guy. You know what I'm saying? We've been in the trenches at Howard. We were in the singing group. We spit, you know what I'm saying, together and all that stuff from, 30 years ago, man. So I'm following his blueprint. I'm following exactly what he's doing, the way he has it laid out. He's been an independent artist for 20 years.
Yep.
20 years. And still, elevating to this point. He has 3 kids, going back to you, Rel, got 3 kids, a wife, you know what I'm saying, and doing it, in the space that he can do it. And achieving what he's achieving is just remarkable to me. And I'm constantly taking notes like, damn, B, what you do with that? How did you set up your Peloton? I mean, not Peloton, your Patreon. Your Peloton, right? How did you set
He said something. Did you put it together, or did they come and deliver it? Did they put the screen in? Like, how did your Peloton get together?
Yeah, how did you set up your Patreon, man? What are you doing with regards to your social, your media outlets and all the other stuff? How the hell did you get with what's the show he's on with the late night dude? He's on the show now on
yeah, with him and what's her name? I know exactly what you're talking about.
Who's the late night dude with the Roots? What'd you say?
Oh, Jimmy Fallon?
Yeah, Jimmy Fallon has a show. A variety show or some type of game show where some, sing, they have celebrity guests where they're pulling up this music and they're creating things, but Eric is one of the cats that's, a part of the band, if you will. And I'm like, damn, you're doing all this shit independently, man. Independently, like literally, no distribution, everything is out the pocket. And like I said, he is the for everything that I want to do from a hip hop perspective, he's doing it on the R&B perspective.
Now, Trey, I gotta ask, who does Eric know? Because it's unheard of to get on a TV show.
Relationships.
Right. I'm just joking. I'm just like, who Eric Dad? Who Eric Dad? Eric Dad is Jimmy Fallon lawyer? No, I'm just joking.
No. Valid point. But see, it took that man 20 years to get to that point.
No, I'm just joking.
I know. But that's the guy, man. It's just like, it's incredible to see what he's doing and continuing to do. And so, and that's the type of path that I want to go down. So that's the person that I model everything that I do after. So Eric Roberson and Blue Arrow so easily for me.
That's dope. One thing I want to say too about, because I know niggas, like, it's just what I know. Somebody's like, yo, man, y'all be sucking Trey off on this show all the time. Trey this, Trey that, Trey this, Trey that, Trey this, Trey that. And again, my thing is that if it just so happens that you're cool with one of your favorite MCs, then you just get a nigga his flowers. Like, I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just what that is. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what that is. You know what I mean? If Fill in the Blank Rapper was on your podcast every week, you'd probably be giving him the flowers. And every show ain't about Trey. We don't get on here and just be like, Trey's here. Like, we don't do that, But it's a situation.
None of it is pretentious. The deal is none of this is pretentious. Like, we can chop it up outside of this box right here and go get a drink or go watch the game. This is not just me appearing on the shit and y'all just because I'm here. No. We don't get down like that. And so those people that perceive it in that manner, they just never build a rapport with anybody that just happened to make some music that kind of, jumped off a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But you never got to know the person, who that person was, how he got down, how the relationship came about. So man, listen, we pay that.
I feel you, but I think if artists and prayerfully somebody out there who's indie has learned from this, that's always my prayer that people are learning. But if there's anything that you walk away with, the core thing is those relationships. You know what I mean? Because see, what folk don't understand is Trey don't remember me from '93. This is my OG Steve used to run with him, and he probably don't even remember me from that. I reached out to Trey just one day on Twitter on the humble, like, yo, bro, I know you probably don't remember me. My man Steve, my OG, was with y'all, and I got some of your old demos. I don't know if you still got them. If you want them, I done digitized them or whatever like that. And that started the relationship that has grown over 6, 7, 8 years into what you see now. So the same thing with Amir, the relationship I have with Amir. I copped the Pete Rock album. I said, man, this shit crazy. Let me just try to reach out to him to see if he will be a guest on the show so we can interview him. And then from there, the relationship grows. You know what I mean? So again, the point of this is that if you want to do this independently, is starting the relationships. And then being able, and I don't know, y'all, can you teach how to be relational? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's just something that you have. And the reason why I say that is because the relationship with Trey could have ended when he was a guest on the show. Like, he was a guest, and then he went on about his way. It could have ended. Grap, the same thing. Grap was one of my favorite MCs, you know what I mean? And he was on the show once, and the relationship just kept going. And the same thing with Amir. So I just want people to understand that relationship is so important. Nika, you said something about making sure that it fits what you do and taking the time that you would not email something about hip hop to a classical writer. Vegas talks about all the time how people are like, yo, could I be a guest on your podcast? And he's like, I'm offended because that means you don't listen to my podcast because I don't have guests. You know what I mean? So that's the thing, that if you want to reach out to somebody, you have to at least listen to what they do, because now you've already offended that person. So even if they would think, hey, man, I like this, now that's done. So it's about doing your research. And one of my people's come to me and he asked me questions. He's like, yo, you really want me to individually DM or individually tweet to people? And I said, yes, I do. Because when you tweet to 40 people in your tweet, that's not it. People don't want that. There's sometimes when we'll be having a conversation and then just out of nowhere somebody comes in like, check my new single. And I'm like, bro, that's not how you're interrupting a conversation we're having to not even talk about the conversation. At least join the conversation, act like you give a fuck, and then chop it up with us. And then at the end say, hey, y'all, now maybe check. No, you jump in the middle and talking about, yo, but check out my new single. That's not the way to do it, y'all. Like, it takes time. And like Nika said, this isn't a sprint. It's a marathon. It's a lot of work. And the young boy who was talking to me, he was like, yo, you really? Yes, I do. When people tell me, Kill Man, I love your podcast, I respond to them, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. There are 8 million podcasts out here. So for you to listen to mine, I appreciate that. And then I build that relationship with them. And then you have your supporters. But that's how you get supporters, but you have to build that relationship. And I think one of the reasons why Trey gets the support not only from us, but from so many people, is because you get to know his spirit. You get to once you understand somebody is cool, then you want to invest in them. I never forgot I was at this Terminology show and I had the album already, like I downloaded it or whatever. And he went on there and he performed. There was only probably like 30, 40 people in the club, but he performed like it was 400 people in there. And after that, I said, man, I'm gonna go buy his shit, because man, that nigga could have got up here, done a little half-ass show, like ain't nobody in here. That nigga performed like his life was on the line. I said, that nigga, he got my $10. He got that $10. So again, it's relationships. It's how you have to learn to build with people. You know, there are times when indie artists will be saying shit, and I'll have to DM them like, yo, bro, keep that political shit off the line. Like, if you on here trying to sell music, don't get into this Trump stuff. Don't get into this, pronoun stuff. You keep that stuff over there on your own, because you about to mess up. You may want to get a burner account for you just to talk your shit Because people think they know Kill because of Twitter. Nigga, you don't know the real motherfucking Kill. Like, you have no idea, but I can't say certain shit because I'm on Twitter and I want people to watch my podcast and I want, you know what I mean? You ever want to come get to know me, come on out to Southeast of Monteason and chop it up with me. Then you, not to say that I'm faking on Twitter. I'm not faking. I am me, but I don't go the extra step because I understand the goal of this. Like Nika said, what is your goal? And my goal is I want people to tune into my podcast. I want people to support my music that I put out. And I need that support. So I can't say certain things that I might say in another space because of that. And Nika, lastly, what you said, I thought that was so important is when you work with a client, what is your goal? Like, because those goals are going to dictate what you did. I've read Will Smith's new book, this joint right here. I give this joint 5 mics. This is an amazing book. Motivate. There you go. Motivated the hell out of me. Yo, 5 mics. All that stuff about wild shit. None of that's in here. None of that red table talk. None of that stuff is in this book. I was motivated. It made me. I think I'm a dope dad and a dope husband. This has me rethinking everything. Like, I came back from reading this book. Like, you know, Nate, let me talk to you. Yo, you 16 now. Like, am I loving you the way you need to be loved now? Because I may still be loving you like when you was 8, and you may need something more from me than what life changing. But one of the things that he said in here was his manager, JL. I think his name was JL, or I suck with memory, but. He said, man, what is your goal? And he said, I want to be the biggest star in Hollywood. This was back in the Fresh Prince days. And his manager said, okay, cool. So when he would get scripts, he would pick scripts and, you know, Will would be like, I don't like that. And he'd be like, but what's the goal? This is the goal to get you. This what, if you just said you want to be an actor, then I wouldn't have told you to take this script. I would have said, let's do this script. But you said you want to be the biggest actor in Hollywood. That's how I pick the scripts that I'm going to give you. So if you don't have that goal, you're just going to be saying yes and no to anything that just gets thrown at you. He turned down a film that was making him a lot of money, probably $1 million, and he turned it down for a film that was like half of that. But again, as manager said, this is our roadmap to get you where you want to be. So you have to know what your goal is. You can't just get on here and say, well, I just want to be a rapper. Well, if you want to be Jay-Z, because keeping in mind, Fresh Prince, I mean, this is just like, you know, back in the day, like what was Willis's name? The Ty Bridges. Ty Bridges saying, I want to be the biggest movie star ever. You know what I mean? Like, Will Smith wasn't. When you look at Will on the Fresh Prince, you never thought that this dude would be one of the biggest grossing movie stars ever. You know, you just wouldn't have. He was just a rapper who just happened to get an NBC show. Show probably be off in a couple of years, whatever. But he did it. So it's like one of those things where if you want to be Jay-Z, say that. But also understand that you're going to have to be able to turn down some things, and it's going to show you what your goal is going to help you direct which way you move. Yep. You know, so just keep all that in mind. Dope episode. Nika, do you do stuff for indie artists? You know what I mean? Do you work with indie artists?
So, in the beginning I did, and then I stopped, and now I'm back.
Okay. Okay.
Can we ask why? Why did you do the you did, you didn't, you did?
It's a lot of work, and I think at one point I didn't do a good job at articulating that it's a lot of work, and so I was falling into trying to, you know, move quickly with the artist, like at the pace that they wanted me to move at, and I was like, yeah, this is not working for me. Like I gotta figure out a way to communicate that. I call it a ramp up period. It's a ramp up period. Like even 3 months of PR may not move as quickly as you think it would. You know, like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But you know, when you're working with someone new, just like you have to figure out your own formula when you're doing your social media or your podcast or whatever projects or things that you're working on. I have to do the same thing. And I'm honest about it now. I'm upfront, like this is the plan. The first 3 months will be here. By this time we'll be here, opposed to that. So I'm in a better space. But then I started doing event stuff, and it just seemed like the events was taking over my life, and they were a little bit easier. It was like, oh, this event is done. Then I'm going over to the next one. With an artist, it's constant. Like I gotta be pushing weekly, daily, you know, depending on what you have going on. And I'm sure, like, I'm gonna give you your flowers though, Drake. You know, I've known you for a while. I've been watching you. I've tried to work with you.
We'll talk. Hey, listen, we'll talk offline. We'll talk offline.
Yeah, we'll talk offline. But it's no shade. But we know what happened. But I've tried to work with you, and like I like love you. You know, like I see it. Like I'm like, this dude is clicking. He got it. Like sometimes I just step back because I know he's good. Like I see what he's doing. It's like I don't think I could have come up with a better idea concept. Well, go ahead, brother. You know, like get it going. If you ever need me, I'm here though. Like it's one of those situations. But some like up and coming artists watching this, please, like if you have not followed him, if you've not been a part of his journey, like follow, be a part of it because it is amazing. Like from clubhouse rooms to like he does not have a problem with dropping knowledge, but how he moves is sweet. It's super sweet. So
man,
pay
you
attention.
make me cry.
I don't want to make you cry. Like,
Nah,
I don't want
man.
to make you cry.
You know why? Because I don't. A lot of times when we do stuff, man, I don't know if people really see it. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know if you receive it the way it's intended to be received. Let me say that. I know,
But we
people may see
have
it,
had
you know what I'm saying?
conversations, and I'm sure you've spoken to everyone who's spoken today outside of being on this podcast, and we've all said the same thing. Like the things that I've heard them say to you, you know, in this podcast, we've talked about it. I've heard other people say it to you on a humble, like, "Hey, yeah, your album fire, yo, your song you just dropped yesterday." And it was fire, and I'm standing there like, yeah, it was, like, you know, so, like, I've seen it.
Oh, man, thank you.
I was walking down the street and bumped into him. We was talking on the corner, and somebody dropped by, hey, yo, JC, yo, your new album is fire. I'm like, yeah, like, I love the humbleness, though. Like, the humbleness is great, but you are a prime example of it. The relationships, like, we all are saying the same thing. So please follow him, pay attention to him, how he moves, how he speaks to people. The respect that he has is, I've never heard anybody say anything negative about this guy.
Thank you, sister.
Seriously.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's it. Buy his wife's book, Hip Hop Don't Stop.
Get that.
On
Definitely
Amazon.
get that.
You know, Lloyd Nelson Lee, we're gonna have them on next week to chop it up about this book and just everything about them and how they move together as a couple and everything like that. So that's gonna be a very dope show. Amir, man, you know, again, man, I just want you to know how dope that 21 grams is. You know, the huge accomplishment of being the first person signed to Pete Rock's record label. Like
Absolutely.
that's a huge accomplishment, bro. And you know, I see you moving through it in a dope way. Again, the relationships. Every time me and Amir are talking, man, he's just telling me about this person, that. I'm like, God damn, bro, who don't you know? You know what I mean? But you know, it goes back to that testament of those relationships. So again, y'all, people watching, I just want everybody to win. That's really the moral to the story, you know. And I hate when people have great music and it's really not getting heard. It's not getting pushed like that. And a lot of times it may come down to relationships. A lot of times it may come down to money. And I always tell people, if you really believe in yourself, you may have to invest in yourself. You may need to borrow, take out a little loan away from your 401k. You may have to, you know, do a little something to get that paper to invest in yourself. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying take out the whole 401k, but you may need to take out 5Gs just if you really believe in this project and, you know, try to maybe get with a Nika, try to get with a Trey and try to figure out, yo, where should I? Because here's the thing, we don't know. Now that I'm thinking about retirement, I got a little bit of money, I need to talk to my mother's financial planner to talk about where do I need to put this money? Where can I get my best investments back? So I'm not telling somebody to take out 5Gs and then you just start throwing the money around. You need to talk with somebody who can tell you which ways, like this is what I would invest in and this is what you need to do and this is what you need to do. So again, Nika said it earlier, it's about getting a team. It's about, I'm gonna probably be, I thought I did the challenge, but this is how offline I am in my head. The challenge that I'm gonna be putting out to people next week is we're on Twitter every day. Connect with somebody new once a week. Connect to somebody new. Take the time. Yeah, take the time.
That's dope, kid.
Look at your followers. Look at the people who follow you and go through it. You may be shocked. You may be shocked at the people who follow you, and just reach out. They follow you, you follow them, DM them, and just say, yo, bro, yo, I see you're a publicist. Yo, what are you working on, man? You know, how can we connect? And if you do that, if you take this challenge and you reach out to somebody once a year, I guarantee you, I'm not saying you will be Jay-Z, but I guarantee you won't be in the same place you are February 2023, or it's January 2023. Because if you reach out to those people and keep that relationship going, I guarantee you will. And again, I'm not saying you'll be at the top, but I guarantee you, if you're at step 2, I guarantee you won't be there next year. That's the only thing that I can guarantee you, is if you do that and then you keep those relationships moving. I always tell the story. My young boy Mousse, I was rocking with a minute ago. He went to LA and he came back and he said, yo, he showed me this little video he shot. I said, yo, who shot your video? He's like, yo, Kendrick Lamar video director. I'm like, yo, how the fuck do you know Kendrick Lamar video director? He was like, through you. I was like, nigga, I don't know Kendrick Lamar video director. What are you talking about? He was like, no, y'all follow each other on Twitter. And I'm like, we do? Me and my man chop it up all the time, but it's not like his bio doesn't say, hi, I'm Kendrick Lamar's video director. It doesn't say that. So we're chopping up about other things outside of just hip hop, and that's what I mean by you have relationships with people and you don't even know what they do. You know what I mean? So this is why I'm saying take the time to go through your followers and really look at what you do. There are a lot of people who may be doing what you do. You may be a script writer and this person's a screenwriter too. Maybe y'all could collab. Maybe this person's a director. Maybe you need somebody to shoot. But just take that time. Just take that time, and that's my challenge. Nika, thank you for chopping it up with us. Where can they get at you? Where can they follow you? Where can they get at you if they want to? Now that we're rocking back with independent artists, where can they get at you?
Can y'all hear me? Am I working?
Yep, you're good. You're good.
Yay. So I am Nika Watkins on everything. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can find me. My business is actually Fire and Ice PR, and that's FireandIcePR, and I'm on Twitter and Instagram with my business as well. Oh, Facebook too. How can I forget Facebook? Yeah, no hit me up, DM me. I do respond to DMs. Please don't just like DM me and just sing your music. Introduce yourself first. I'm a stickler about that. Who was that lady killed at Morgan in the communications department? If you didn't speak to her first, she was not talking to you. I can now remember her name. So I'm like that now. Like, hello, how are you? Good morning. Do not just slide in my DM and just start talking. I'm not gonna respond.
That part.
Right.
Or if I do, I say, good morning, good afternoon.
Right. and you know what, nigga, that's huge, because anytime that I work with an artist, you know, and it's like, okay, well, tell me about yourself. We gonna be working together, like, where you from? Like, you know, you married, wife, kid, like, you know, because then that helps me understand how we can work together with music. Like, you know, because you know, you're able to work better with people that way once you get to know them, and that's huge. Trey, where can they get at you? Where can they? Yeah, it helps you. What you say, Nika, about the narrative?
Yo, you create a narrative when you do that. You know, when you talk about yourself or whatever, that helps. Those are sellable tools, believe it or not. You can put it in your music. People can see it, you know, in your personality. So,
yes,
put that out there. Talk about yourself.
Right. Trey, give them everything, good brother.
Man, TracyLeeMusic.com for any and everything Tracy Lee. You can go to Nelson Publishing Books for anything.com for anything that my wife does, including Hip Hop Don't Stop, which is also available on Amazon.com. You can reach me at, you know, Tracy Lee ESQ on IG, and as well as Fanbase. Fanbase. This which is a new, by my man Isaac Hayes. It's a new platform that I want everybody to get up on. Fanbase is imagine IG and Clubhouse combined. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm on it.
Yes, black owned and operated. It's a hell of a tool, man. And I think that's where we as a people should start to migrate and navigate towards. So you can find me on Tracy Lee ESQ on both IG and on Fanbase. You can find me on LinkedIn, Tracy Lee. You can find me on Facebook, Tracy Lee. You can find me on Twitter at TRAYLEE. And you can find me on what's the last?
The YouTube.
The YouTube channel. Left. LLEFT TV. Left TV. LLEFT TV. Left spelled with 2 L's. EFT TV. That's where we are. The pen is moving, ladies and gentlemen. So we're about to start putting some new things out for 2022. You know what I'm saying? And stay tuned for that joint with me, man, my man Kill. You got something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And again, I can't talk more about just the relationships, because just the music I've been working on Amir with, a lot of it comes from me talking to him on the phone and FaceTime and our conversations. And me understanding, like, you know, I sent him a beat. I was like, yo, you see, I dropped this part out because I know I peeped you like that. So again, just when you build relation, I know on the internet it's easy because, like, yo, I just send you beats, but when you can really get to know somebody, that makes the music that much doper. It brings another piece to it. Amir, tell them where they can get at you, good brother.
Yeah, thank you, bro. Now you can find me on Twitter at 25th Hour Man, number 25 THHOURMAN, and on IG at a.m.x.x.r.amxxr, and that's primarily it, man. You know, I'm primarily on those two spots, and I had a website, I think I'm still up to, it's called peacebeloved.com, and that's pretty much what I'm working on. YouTube, AMXXR TV, and those are my primary points of contact right now.
All right, where can they cop this at? What is the website?
Oh yes, matter of fact, and also we just dropped, man. Yeah, so and absolutely, man, check out that project with me and Pete, 21 grams, powered by True Soul, the mixtape we put out a couple months back. That's on SoundCloud and Audio Mac. We didn't put it on the other DSPs due to sampling clearances and etc. But we also got Peace Instrumentals 4 dropping the next month on the 31st. And then we got Dope Way Soul coming after that, man, which is my debut album on True Soul. / we don't know what we're gonna use as far as so I guess everybody stay tuned as far as how he wants to push it through. But we have those two projects coming out, and I've been working on records with Kill and my man Tone Beats, my man Shane, a few other people too, man. So I just shout out to everybody and everybody up here, man. Because everybody up here to me has definitely served as some form of inspiration, or has definitely helped me see things through a different lens outside of my own. So I appreciate y'all taking the time. We put in 3 hours with each other a week or 2 hours a week, so that's not an easy task because we don't get back the time. I appreciate y'all, man.
Right. No doubt. Give them everything.
Yeah. One second.
No. I got it.
Hello?
Yeah, you good.
Yeah, I was hearing like an echo, so I didn't know if that was on my end or y'all end or whatever. But definitely taking the opportunity with this topic, especially about independent. I got the dope platform freestyles.com. I'm doing write-ups. Independent artists, independent albums. I know. I had thought about. Regular album reviews, but really this is my way of giving back, because I feel like just creating another platform for independent artists who actually could use it and benefit from it, I love the major artists like everyone else, like the Nas's and everyone else, but at this point, they good. They good, man. They got the major platforms, but these independent artists, they got talent, man. They dope, they're the ones who are pushing the culture forward. Artists like Trey, artists like Amir, artists like I Am God, like JR and King James, and numerous other artists I could mention, like just go to freestyles.com, man. I've reviewed, tons of independent hip hop albums. Like, you can check out those artists. Like, you may not relate to all of them, but there's gonna be something out there that you're gonna connect to. Just go down the rabbit hole, man. Like, that's what I'm trying to do with that platform. As far as me, you can catch me on Twitter at EddieD80 and Instagram at Freestyles.
All right, no doubt. Rel, where can they get at you, good brother?
Uptown J-Ben on Instagram, JBen215 on Twitter. And that's basically it. I'm, feeling a lot better, so my creative juices is flowing, so I'm.
Yes, man. Thank God for that, brother. Thank God for that.
So I appreciate that. So, I'm getting back into the swing of things of my regular life, and I'm also, like I said, I haven't wrote a rhyme in 6 years, but I've been writing lately. So we'll see what comes of that.
Let's go.
And I just want to say one thing about something we talked about. Like, the way I got on this podcast was me reaching out to Kill on Twitter. I was watching the podcast on YouTube one night, just during the pandemic. You go down a rabbit hole of just watching stuff, and I saw the episode about Philly, and I reached out to him. I saw Trey Lee on that episode, and I met Trey Lee. He was with his kids, and I said, "Yo, I know you." He was like, "From where?" I said, "Are you Tracy Lee?" And he was like, "Yeah." So I reached out to Kill, and I was like, "Yo, I like what you're doing, and if it's possible, I'm really into hip hop. I got a little bit of knowledge. If it's possible, can I one day get on the show?" And he ain't curved me or nothing. He just, he was cool, and here I am now.
Yeah.
So that's a testament.
And what you've been on the team 6 months now? I don't even know how long. I can't even keep up no more. I don't even know. One day we have to do a family tree. I don't even know how people got here. It's like
it's over a year because it was during the pandemic.
See, I don't, dog. Let me tell you something. To you, my brain and time right now. I'm stuck that they only 16. Like, this chick is gonna be 17. Like, I don't even know where the time went. So I trust me and Tom are not friends right now. So, but yeah, I appreciate that, Rel. And again, to me, it's just about vibe. He got on the show and he just fit the vibe of the show, and it was just like, again, Apartment 5B is named after my mother-in-law's apartment in Harlem, and her apartment was the spot where no matter what you was going through, you could come through, get a hot meal. You need to stay the night. You stay the night. You end up sometimes you ended up moving in. So Portia always jokes I invited her for one show and she just never left. So it's like, I love the fact that this is represent what my mother-in-law represented for her house in Harlem. So and again, Rel, you've been a great addition to the show. So definitely. So again, that's just an example of how when you could connect with people and you build and you never know what comes from it. Rel got memes now because of Apartment 5B. Like when Nas Magic came out, niggas was hitting me like with the Tupac. You remember Juice where Tupac, when Omar's up at the locker and then he closed the door and Pac is there. They was like, that's gonna be Rel and You Killer if you don't like this new Magic. And it was like, there you go. You are 100% right. That is gonna be Rel looking at me like Pocket.
I didn't even know dude that did it. I didn't even know him.
You ain't got to know, bro. Here's the great thing. The wonderful thing, and the reason why I thank people so much for watching is because we get in this room every week, and like Amir said, we chop it up like it's only the 7 of us.
Yeah.
There's thousands of people watching. Like the connection with Slack and Easton. There are people in the UK that watch us. There's people in Africa who watch us. Like, so we think it's just us. But I think that's why people vibe with us, because it just is what it is. So again, wonderful addition to the team, Rel. JR, give him everything, good brother.
Well, I'm R&B guy. Me and Elise got our R&B reps, which we've been feeling since like 2010 that R&B just is not getting the respect that it used to. So we just want to give like the history, and then I was doing current R&B bangers, and she was doing like vinyl themes and talking about that. So we put all that together, and we're the R&B reps. We give history. We funny with it. You learn something. You know what I mean? You learn about indie artists. you know what I'm saying, R&B artists that don't get the, you know, the respect they deserve. Like Eddie said, the big ones, they good. You know what I mean? So we need the ones that just, you know, is on SoundCloud, literally. You know what I'm saying? And on these little platforms that can get, you know, exposure. So we do that with the R&B raps, you know what I'm saying? We do our catch stats, which we invite so many people on just to talk about albums and learn about people through their favorite albums and favorite songs. And the recent one we got out now is the Janet Velvet Rope we did with Mark Chappelle. He's with, like, you know, he's a writer and a historian and all that. He's in the industry, and we talked about that. And it's so dope to now to get like somebody like Jimmy Jam to love what we do and literally like really enjoy the things that we do. And he's like, yo, the history that you guys got is just for somebody that you looked up to really enjoy what you do. And they like, and he sees the real and the passion of it. It's just, that's what, you know, I would love to make money for it, but I ain't making no money now, but I know eventually it's gonna happen. But I'm just happy to do that, you know what I mean? It's just for people to get what they can get. So check us out, the R&B Raps on Instagram, R&B Raps on Twitter. I'm JR's World of Soul on Twitter, Instagram. She's Naturally Lease on Instagram and Twitter.
No doubt. Skill 889 Twitter, IG. We'll make beats for food. Just to go back to end the show on what Nika said about it being a sprint and not a marathon, and this is for all my creators. A long time ago, Nate had to be 5 or 6, and I've told some of this story to y'all, so act like y'all haven't heard it before. But we were doing the whole backyard, and you know, we're pulling up all the old grass, getting the soil up and everything like that. And we put the soil down, and Naomi's excited. She's like, we're gonna have grass in our backyard. She's super excited. 4 or 5 hours worth of work. Now this girl's like 6 or 7. That's a lot. That's a long 5 or 6 hours of work is long for me. That's really long for a little kid. And we were done. I said, yo, we done. She was like, where's the grass? And I'm like, oh, the grass isn't here right now, sweetheart. After doing all of that work, now we have to water it 3 times a day for probably the next, you know, at least 1 to 2 months. And the look on her face was so disappointing because it was like, yo, we just did all of that work and the grass isn't here. And I said, yep, but this is just the first step of the work that we have to do. Now we have to water the grass every day. She said, well, what happens if we don't water the grass? And I said, well, all the work we just did was for nothing. And then we went upstairs, and in her room, you could see our neighbor's backyard and see our backyard. She was like, Daddy, come upstairs. He was like, look, their backyard is nothing but dirt. Our backyard is nothing but dirt. What was all that work for? And I said, well, see, their backyard doesn't have any promise in it because their backyard is literally just dirt. Our backyard has promise in it because it's got the soil, it's got the seeds, it's got the fertilizer, it's got all that. And I tell that story just to say that sometimes you feel like, because I felt this way, I've done all this work and it hasn't popped for me yet, you know? And it's one of those things where if you do that, that was the beginning stage. You planted your seeds by all this hard work you did. But are you watering your seeds? Are you on Twitter every day? Are you telling people about it? Are you talking about it? Because if you don't, then all the hard work you just did, nothing happens. Right. So that's what I mean by, and what Nika said was so amazing was that it's the marathon. Here's the thing, you can go the cheap way, go get some side, go throw some side down if you want some grass right now, you know. But if you want to do this the right way and get your grass good, it's a process. And there's gonna be times when you look at other people and you're like, why? I feel like I've been doing all this work and I'm in the same position as he is. And I told Nate, mind your business. Focus on you. Don't focus on what's in your neighbor's yard. Don't focus if their yard look great or if they focus on you. My pastor taught me horses that run, race horses, they have blinders on to keep them from looking in the other lane because it just keeps them focused on going forward. And sometimes that's what we do. I'll look at Trey. Why Trey doing better than me? Or why this? No, stay here. Focus on what you doing. Focus on what your goal is. Focus on what you're doing. And I guarantee you, if you do keep doing that work, because again, you make the album, but if you're not watering the grass every day, if you're not telling people about it, it's not going to go nowhere. You know, so just understand that it really is that marathon. It really is that sprint. So, you know, it just, you know, kills words of wisdom for the night. You know, prayerfully it touches somebody.
Touch me. I got it. I'm a witness.
Oh, yeah.
Let them use you. Let them do it.
And at the last minute, Apartment 5B is sponsored by Check. So what's the scenario? Go get this game. It will cause arguments. Trust me, it may cause fights. Don't invite people over you really don't love because you may swing on somebody because you will be arguing about this game. Go to sowhatgames.com, put in the promo code Apartment 5B and you will get free shipping. I'm dead ass. We argue about this game every time we play it on here.
You haven't even played anymore.
I told you we have to play during the day because we're not stopping until I fucking win. So the problem is when we play this game at 9 o'clock, I'm gonna have y'all up till 4 in the morning because we're gonna play it until I win. It's my show and I haven't won on my own show. So we are gonna play this game all day. So we just need a nice Sunday afternoon when people get home from church. It's a COVID afternoon and we can just play all night until I win. Yes, I'm that person that I'm tired of losing. JR, you won and you an R&B dude. How do you win the hip hop game? And
You a hater.
I am because if we're playing R&B game and I win, trust me, you're gonna feel some kind of way. Like,
absolutely. You're right.
There you go. So that's all. So everybody, I appreciate y'all. Prayerfully, y'all got something out of this. Everybody watching, I will check y'all next week.
I want you to get yourself and your soul together.